Chapter 1-1. Kai joins the battle. General Sanders. The shout somehow made his heart skip a beat before he frowned. Seeing the seriousness in Kai's expression, General Sanders quickly shouted, "It's time for us to join the war." "Yes, sir." No one had yet to realize that the enemy this time had more than their usual swarm, so they replied with salutes and energy. Sanders nodded his head before turning back to Kai. That gaze alone already asked a question that Kai quickly answered. "They're going toward the gap between the middle and left armies." "What?" Sanders's body shook, never expecting the enemy to play this dirty. By situating themselves between the middle and left armies, they could help each army if needed. Together with their numerical advantage, it would make the transfer between units easier. Things would be different for the human army. The reserve army that consisted of elites and military school students would have no leeway to reinforce both armies. Besides, if they fought too close to the sea creature's horde, they would be noticed and pincered. The same applied if they were coming too far back. The flying beasts could easily attack the middle army, and no one could save them. The position would be the most important part of this battle, and Sanders knew it. "Don't worry, I will make sure to get the perfect place for you," Sanders assured Kai by patting his shoulder. "General, as soon as we move to the second phase, I would like to enter the battle also," Kai said with a serious expression. Sanders wanted to say no, but the word stuck on his mouth. "Are you sure?" "You." The plan was for him to test his new magic on the magical beasts, and this was the exact time where he could do a real experiment. After all, even though the simulation world was good, it didn't provide enough data about frequency and such, and he wouldn't have many magical beasts to experiment in a normal mission. Only at a mission like this, he could efficiently study his magic. Sanders pondered for a moment before asking, "Which army?" Without organizing his words, Kai answered with the part he had prepared last night. "Middle army." "Rest assured, General. I am not planning to join the battle in the front from the start. Of course, I will wield my swords and take down as many enemies as possible if the moment comes. In any case, by coming to the middle army, I can ask my sister to teleport me back if needed." Sanders didn't immediately answer. He knew about Kai's prowess as one of the Zodiacs, but it was in the form of paper. After pondering for a few seconds, he finally gave Kai a nod. "But be careful and use the radio if needed." "Yes, sir." Kai nodded before adding, "We are going to the second phase in around 10 minutes. "All right, I will take note of it." Sanders turned around and walked toward the reserve army. "All of you follow me?" "Yes." They started moving northwest. Kai gave another look at the reserve army. Although it had 1,000 people, the elites would probably do the most work while the students tried to shoot the flying beasts, albeit missing them most of the time. 10 minutes. Kai also sent a message to the radio, informing the three armies for the second phase. Marcia didn't care about the information, as her hand was already full of 3,000 magical beasts. Although she might be able to win if this was all, it would still take a few hours. On the other hand, this was good news for Jack and Sarah. With the second phase began, Jack could finally start routing the enemy inside the town, making their gunners have a bit more advantage. For Sarah, it would mean the nightmare finally stopped coming, and she only needed to deal with the rest. Although it would lead to many injuries, they should be able to destroy them unless something unexpected destroys the balance. Good. Sarah took a deep breath, continuing her killing spree. In the middle army, Jack laughed loudly, echoing in everyone's ears. "We will destroy them in 10 minutes, fellas. So tighten your pants and guard this position for 10 minutes. The soldiers became fired up as they used everything to push the enemy back. Michelle also heard it and let out a relieved sigh. "He is coming here then." Tasha couldn't hear it since she was with the other gunners, but they could somehow predict what just happened. Not long after, General Sanders finally arrived in their position with the reserve army. He furrowed his eyebrows the moment flying beasts entered his scope of vision. Most of the birds were a type of barn swallow, as he easily recognized them by their deeply forked tails. Barn swallows usually migrated to South America during winter and then returned once the weather was warm. Still, this is still autumn, and we should fight all these birds in December or January, usually. That must do something about it and command the magical beasts to have an early migration, Sanders muttered to himself with his personal experience. Many soldiers in the base also knew about this type of bird, as they had fought them a few times when they were migrating, so they also had the same confusion, but one without answer. Unlike Sanders, let's do it, soldiers. This is the type that we usually encounter in winter. Only the timing is different. Elites who can fly will kill the closest magical beasts, while the other and students will provide the support. Yes, sir. Knowing their enemy made them pretty confident about it, as they quickly organized their position. Sanders also took out his weapon, which surprisingly was a Gatling gun, pointing it at the birds 10 minutes later. The time finally came, as Kai finally gave an order. Move to the second phase. Hearing the command, the happiest one would be Jack, as he quickly shouted with a smile. It's time, fellas, we are going to retreat. All companies will move according to the plan on my signal. Yes, all. 800 fighters moved in sync, retreating bit by bit to the town. For the gunners, this was the signal they'd agreed upon for the second phase. Tasha quickly appeared on the battlefield and teleported many magical beasts to the sky, creating another magical beast's reign. Her real aim was to create a gap, so the magical beasts would focus on them instead of moving to the left army by following their other comrades. Just like how Tasha moved, the gunners also raised their guns to the sky and pulled back to the town. All of them entered a building to gain higher ground so that they would have a better field of vision. Meanwhile, with the sync in their movement, they managed to retreat inside the city, moving toward a high-populated area and planted a few bombs on all high buildings in their way. Not stopping in that place, they moved to a different area, which was supposed to be a park formerly. After regrouping in an open area, Jack observed the magical beasts' movements. The magical beasts destroyed many buildings on the way, but most of them still needed to climb the rubble to reach the army. This rubble was enough to slow them down, preventing the army from being surrounded by magical beasts. They began to get closer and closer as Jack narrowed his eyes, waiting for the right time. After waiting for another few seconds, he finally counted down. 3, 2, 1, light them up. Jack shouted. All the fighters that were in charge of planting the bombs pulled the triggers. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions occurred on the battlefield, destroying all the foundations of tall buildings. Without foundation, the building started crumbling to the ground. Some big rubbles had enough weight and killed magical beasts instantly, while some smaller ones buried many magical beasts together. There were around 20 explosions altogether to shatter around 3 tall buildings, but it was worth it. First, they had buried around 300 magical beasts with those 20 explosions and rubbles. Although the number was insignificant of their thousands of beasts, the rubbles that scattered around made them even slower than earlier. Jack quickly gave another order. First company will follow me to block them from the left side, while the second company will replace our position. The third company will hold the right wall, while the fourth company will spread around the 3 walls and replace those who fell in battle. IAN. Platoon usually has 20 to 50 soldiers, while a company has 2 to 4 platoons. Yes, sir. The first company consisted of 200 soldiers who followed Jack to flank the magical beasts from the left. With the fourth company becoming the reserve, they finally made a receiving formation in a bell shape. They were planning to let the magical beasts inside their formation and finish them inside. And to finish the entire plan, Jack shouted for the last time. Fifth company, make sure you don't hit friendlies. The fifth company consisted of 200 gunners, who had taken their places a bit farther from them but on top of the roof. This allowed them to have an easier time targeting the magical beasts. The first wave of magical beasts came inside their formation and was quickly intercepted by the 3 walls, preventing them from going anywhere. They might be able to go back, but it was already filled with magical beasts, so they were trapped as soon as they entered the formation. Besides, the magical beasts only acted with instinct, so unless they were commanded to do something, they would continue forward. This was the best plan that Jack could come up with for receiving the magical beasts. After another minute, Kai finally entered the battlefield and came to the building where Tasha was stationed. Chapter 122, Emergency Situation. You have come. Tasha smiled and said after noticing his presence. Yes. Kai nodded. How is the situation? Kai pondered for a moment and said, Firstly, it will be about the number of enemies of our respective army. The right has 3,000, we have 6,000, the reserve has 5,000, and the left has 6,000. I don't know why, but the reserve army is rolling right now. They are killing at a rate far faster than any of us, though I feel the general is pushing it too far. In any case, We're in the stalemate with our enemy right now. He told her because he wanted to reorganize his thoughts by saying it out loud. It's good then. Although our situation is still unfavorable, we can win this. Tasha nodded and fell into silence. She glanced at Kai a few times while shooting her lightning arrows. Kai, you are hiding something, aren't you? Kai didn't answer, as he only stared at her for a few seconds. It's fine if you can't say it. Just your reaction alone is enough for me to know you've been hiding something, and that something is a big secret. Tasha shrugged, drawing her bow again. Sorry, sister. Even though you and Michelle are the two people I trust the most, I can't say anything about this, Kai said while closing his eyes, picturing several reasons. It's all right, I shouldn't ask about it anyway. Tasha smiled before changing the topic. Anyway, what are you going to do with our current condition, and what do you want to achieve by coming here? I won't do anything about our current condition yet. As for what I want to achieve, it's simple. I want to master my new magic, because only by experimenting in this kind of battlefield I would get a better result. Kai smiled. Your new magic? Ah, we forgot to discuss it back in the Lion Group room. I just want to find the right frequency of sea creatures and destroy them from inside if possible. Kai smiled. Oh, right. Just like shattering a glass with sound at a certain frequency. Yeah. Though I need to search for every magical beast frequency, since just like crab and turtle, they have their own frequency. That magic is going to make you a wanted person, you know. After all, you are like the last boss where you can kill someone by shattering their heart with frequency. Tasha smirked. Kai shook his head and sighed. It's not something that omnipotent. Just say a person's eyeballs, I can only destroy their eyeballs after more than 10 seconds. At that time, if they wear glasses, the time needed will increase. And if they have another preventing measure like a plate or something, almost no sound wave would come around them unless I use high energy but low frequency. Unfortunately, it would take too much magic and not worth it, since I can just send their head flying with my sword. True enough. They might even change places if they are getting some symptoms. If it's a magical beast, they would most likely charge at you. As long as you keep your distance, you can bring them down. Tasha smiled, giving her opinion about the magic. That's basically my plan, though I really wish you would have the vibration sword. After all, it will increase the sword sharpness extremely and might even cut steel like cutting tofu. It's just a concept. I have altered the magic, and we only need to get the new swords to test the power. Kai shrugged. What if that person wants you to visit her? Kai glanced left and right, not knowing what to say. He ended up ignoring the question as he raised his hand, pointing it on a magical beast. She stopped talking and smiled, continuing her job. Besides her, Kai created a green magic circle. The process of this was extremely tedious. Kai could only check whether the frequency was right after 3 seconds, as the magical beasts would react to it. In other words, if he targeted one magical beast, he could only test 20 different frequencies in 1 minute or 100. And he also needed to control the intensity of the sound. It would require months to test all of it. So he could only test in a brief period and noticed the difference with his ears. He raised his left hand and created another magic circle. This magic circle was his sound insulation room, while its purpose in this experiment was to prevent the sound from distracting the people around. Although it wouldn't trap the sound completely, it should still be enough to reduce the noise to a significant degree. He needed to do this because, unlike the first time where he shot at Isabel, he would use the frequency that could be heard by human hearing. Michelle also noticed Kai's presence on the battlefield. She just took a glimpse of his condition and continued killing the magical beasts. With Kai observing this battlefield, there should be nothing wrong unless there was an unexpected threat that was hard to discern with hearing alone. The battle continued for 3 hours without much progress. From his point of view, they had killed around 7,000 magical beasts in total, while having almost 500 casualties. It could be said that this progress was one of the best scenarios they had, but this also made Kai suspicious. If the other party had intelligence at the same level as a human, they should notice it too, and act accordingly. He didn't know why, but there was an uneasy feeling shaking his heart this whole time. The battle continued for another hour, and the intense feeling finally reached its peak as he suddenly heard another voice from the sea. Scratcly, key. Kai heard them talking again, making him furrow his eyebrows. He was wondering what kind of plan they would use again as he muttered to himself. Is this the intense feeling I got the entire time? What are they planning to even make this feeling? The animal instinct usually warns me about danger, so this must be something dangerous. The voices continued like having a conversation. Just like last time, he tried to discern the message by the tone alone, and he felt they were having a conversation about their plan. After around a minute, the dolphin's voice suddenly intensified, and the real battle finally started. Roar, roar, roar! A series of roar echoed through the battlefield. Not only in this battlefield, but also on every battlefield. Kai didn't understand their language, so he focused on hearing and trying to see any change. It was at this time Tasha's expression turned serious. Kai, be careful. Tasha made a purple magic circle on her hand, pointing it to the front. In terms of sight, Tasha was better than him. In this chaotic battlefield, even Kai might not be capable of discerning if someone targeted him unless they released their attack. However, the moment she said that, the animal instinct inside him was tingling, noticing an incoming attack. The green magic circle on his hand vanished as he took both of his swords, searching for someone that made this sensation. On the other hand, Tasha made a lightning spear but had yet to release it. Here it comes. By investigating the battlefield after Tasha's warning, Kai finally spotted one magical beast that was doing something irregular. Electric lance. Tasha finally released her magic as she saw a blue light coming toward their place. The lance and the blue light clashed, creating a shockwave that shook the entire battlefield. Jack made an unpleasant expression and shouted, "What the heck is that? Oi oi, don't tell me there is an A-class magical beast here, and seeing how it's attacking us in this timing. This one should have unlocked not only its magic, but also its intelligence. Target on sight. And intelligence. A class magical beast is spotted in my area." Jack quickly informed the others, "Is this really the only thing I feel?" Kai furrowed his eyebrows, concentrating all his attention to his ears, before noticing that the others also experienced the same thing. In the right army, Marsha leaped to the air, avoiding a crab strike from its sharp claw. Surprisingly, the crab pierced the ground, creating a hole enough for many people inside. Marsha swung her glaive before the hard claw blocked it. This is certainly going to be troublesome. Just like her, the left and reserve army also had their respective opponent. However, Kai noticed something that no one would ever notice. This is not good. I need to go to the left army, Kai. What happens? Sister, teleport me to the left army. Kai grabbed her sister before releasing an oscillation shield to block another blue light. Boom! The left army is in danger right now. Kai's voice startled everyone. I don't have enough time to explain, but we need to reinforce the left army. What is this all about, Kai Carter? Sanders frowned, as he might not have some leeway to reinforce the left army with their current condition. General, there are many things to explain, but if we don't reinforce the left army, this battle will be as good as lose. Kid, are you underestimating me? Sarah couldn't take it any longer and said coldly, if you think you can fight another 2,000 flying beasts and one intelligence, a rank beast, then feel free to say, I am underestimating you. Cord drawed to the radio. Thud. Chapter 133, Reinforcement. If you think you can fight another 2,000 flying beasts and one intelligence, a rank beast, then feel free to say, I am underestimating you. Kai couldn't delay it anymore, so he roared even to the superior. They fell into momentary silence before Sanders suddenly said, if you think reinforcing the left army is a good idea, bring 100 elites and all military students with you. I and my 400 elites will stop the 3,000 flying beasts in this place. Kai, bring 100 fighters and 100 gunners from this place. Jack also scratched his head, knowing it was already hard enough to stop this many magical beasts with 1,000 alone. However, their victory is on the line here, so he could only grit his teeth and send a reinforcement. No, they are too slow. I am going there with teleportation magic, though I can still bring the reinforcement from the reserve army as long as the left army can hold the magical beasts for a while. I will try, Sarah said with a troubled expression. In front of her was a giant octopus. Not only could this octopus brazenly live on the land, but it was also ridiculously fast. Every attack was countered perfectly by this octopus, and even her magic was also blocked easily. She glanced at Sanai and shouted, Shirotsuka Sanai, you are a member of Snake Elite Corp, right? Can you take care of an intelligent A-rank flying beast alone? Shirotsuka Sanae opened her eyes in shock as she didn't hear anything about the talk they had on the radio. Without asking anything, she answered, "If it's only to buy time, I can." "Good. We don't need too long because there will be reinforcement later." "All right. I will try it. I will also send 300 gunners to you." Sanae didn't understand what she meant, but still nodded. Meanwhile, Kai appeared in the middle of the reserve army, finding the battle between the general and an A-ranked barn swallow. Unfortunately, he couldn't watch it any longer as he looked around to see which one would be the reinforcement group. "He has come," General Sanders said after noticing his presence. He said without turning around, "He is the one in charge of this battle. All of you will follow him and help the left army." One of the elites came to him. He was a middle-aged man, the same age as the general. "I am Roga. Although I don't want to believe it, the general order is absolute, so please take care of us. I will be in charge of them since they might don't want to listen to your order." Kai only nodded to answer his greeting before saying, "We don't have time." "Yes, I am aware." He raised his hand and shouted, "All troops move out." Kai turned back and ran toward the left army. In the left battlefield, the flying beasts finally arrived, making the soldiers tremble with their presence. The situation was not good from the beginning, and they would even get attacked in this situation. At this point, each soldier really wanted to curse, "Shoot them." Sanae ordered 300 gunners to intercept the flying beasts, before she also flew to the sky with her wind magic. Sanae frowned, as she knew her efforts alone wouldn't be able to stop them from getting to the hill. She created a huge tornado to keep the birds at bay while the gunners shot them. At this time, a gigantic bird flew toward the tornado and flapped its wings, blowing the tornado away. Squeak Sanae furrowed her eyebrows and threw her star knives toward the bird, but was blown away by a single flap. She might be a perfect opponent for a bird because she could fly. However, her wind magic turned out to be an absolute bane against this bird, Fu. Sanae took a deep breath, searching for a gap to exploit. The bird rendered her useless, and she couldn't stop the other birds from getting into their gunners. As she predicted, they dove down to attack the gunners first, and Sanae quickly threw her star knives to intercept them, but the bird blew them away again. "Be careful." She released all of her wind element as to prevent the bird from destroying her wind manipulation. "Since you want to be killed first, then I will kill you." Boom! Arg! Just as she said those words, a loud sound echoed through the battlefield. She turned around, and it turned out they actually had two other intelligent creatures, a turtle and a lobster. "This is not good." Sanae and Sarah cursed at the same time. At the same time, boom! An attack coming from the right exploded in the middle of flying beasts as a few of them turned around to see what happened. Sanae and Sarah turned around and smirked as their reinforcement finally arrived. "Let's go, Kai!" And 100 people started charging toward the hill. Squeak, squeak. The leader, who was fighting with Sanae, commanded the other birds, "I will take all of you down." Sanae smirked as she created a huge green magic circle. Whirlwind blade. A huge tornado came out of the magic circle, carrying Sanae's star knives. It spun around at a fast speed, moving around to the other birds and cutting them down one by one like a sharp blade. She couldn't use this technique earlier because of the hard shell from the sea creatures, but it was a deadly weapon against these birds. She glanced at Kai and was shocked that they were planning to climb the hill while being surrounded by flying beasts. Meanwhile, Kai took a deep breath before releasing his ferocious aura. He looked up, finding the birds that started coming down. "Sir, let me take care of it," Roga shouted as he increased his speed to pass Kai. However, Kai suddenly increased his speed, leading the group from the very front. The moment the bird dove down, striking Kai with its beak, Kai simply leaped and rolled around a few times in the air before sending a dropkick right onto the head. He found another bird coming at him, so he jumped and used his sword to kill it. Squeak. The bird let out a weak shrill as Kai's kick was just that strong. It shattered the bird's skull and cracked the ground by the sheer force alone. A kick containing a few hundred kilograms. Strength killed a bird in an instant. This certainly sent a shock to the other elites, never expecting Kai would have this much strength. There was another thing that made them couldn't look away from this young student. At first, they thought that Kai might unquestionably be a prodigy in the strategist world. But becoming a fighter and personally coming to the battlefield was a whole other matter. In this field, where things unfolded instantly, they were wondering how he would fight. However, their imagination was shattered as Kai was charging in front to boost the troops' morale, which was praiseworthy, and killed a single bird in one kick before leaping to another bird and killing it with a single swing. As someone who was on the battlefield for a few years, Roger quickly shouted, "Are you guys really elites that will have a student leading from the front? Men, move up, as we will rescue the left army." Without even saying anything, their parade was triggered and roared as they started killing the pack of birds that were coming at them. Roger looked at Kai's back and somehow had his heart moved by this young person. He didn't know whether to classify this youngster as a genius or a reckless brat, but it was certain that the plan was going well. The scene from a few minutes ago flashed in his mind. "A few minutes ago, Commander Kai, this is going to be rough. I've been in the base for a few years and encountered this type of bird every single year. From what I know, the bird will most likely dive down and attack us the moment we help the left army." Roger stopped Kai before the bird spotted them. "I suggest we go around this place and climb the hill from the other side." Kai halted his movement and pondered for a few seconds before shaking his head. It will be too late. Taking a look at their condition, they would collapse in less than 5 minutes. "We can only come from the front." "But sir, we still need to." "No, I am talking about another plan. If they attack us, no, I should say it's better if they attack us, sir. I can't explain too much, so I will just say this. If they attack us, it will lift a portion of the burden from the left army. As for the military students, it's better for them to go around this place and climb the hill safely. They are not good with this anyway." Roger was startled by Kai's plan. "Sir, you mean yes?" Kai nodded. "You guys are elites, right? Can I expect something from all of you?" "Yes, sir." Roger saluted him from the bottom of his heart. He shook his head while wielding his glaive, cutting down every single bird that tried to attack him while running. "Follow Sir Kai, and we will relieve the left army." He shouted. Kai's plan was simple. He planned to use a Godspeed and unison movement from the elites to destroy everything that was in their way. That was the reason why he made the military students go around. They were a burden in this plan, after all. Roger that. Chapter 14 Bad Situation. Kai's group entered the hill area with lightning speed, killing every single flying beast that came their way. As one would expect from an elite group, they were really reliable. Seeing this progress, Sarah quickly shouted, "Hold your position, everyone. Our reinforcement has arrived. They will arrive at the top in 2 minutes, so use everything you have in these 2 minutes." Yes. Although she said those words, she sucked a cold breath because even with Kai's group, it was not enough to deal with 2 intelligent beasts. Boom, shit. Sarah turned around only to find the 2 magical beasts closing to her position. It would seem they wanted to kill her first. This is going to be a brutal fight. If we can't hold them on this hill, they will start swarming the general's army before sweeping the middle and right armies. Boom. She slapped the octopus's tentacle away with her spear. Although she could fight the octopus to a standstill, it was hard for her to defeat this octopus because of the lack of firepower. Besides, the soldiers around her started dying before they could even get healed by Evan. "We are going to retreat to our last line of defense," she shouted. As soon as they heard "last line of defense," they knew the situation became pretty dangerous. Without wasting any time, they quickly blew the enemy away and climbed the cliff. The gunners started raining their bullets, halting the beast's advance. The sea creatures started climbing the hill as Sarah roared, "Set them on fire!" Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions came out of the ground. Just like Jack, Sarah also utilized everything in their possession. It might not be cost-effective, but it was enough for stopping their advance for a few seconds with a wall of dead magical beasts. Within those few seconds, the elites group finally arrived. "We are through," Roger roared as they successfully climbed the hill. Kai checked the military students' position and found them not far from the foot of the hill. In around 5 minutes or so, they should arrive in this place. With 500 more gunners, he could see a working plan. For now, the group will split into 2. The first group will fight the flying beasts while preventing them from reaching our gunners. The other group will stop the magical beast's advance. Roger. No one had any complaint about Kai anymore after seeing his conduct, strength, and bravery. Instead, their heart filled with respect. Bam! The wall was shattered by three existences: an octopus, a turtle, and a lobster. The octopus was Sarah's opponent, so Kai quickly turned to the turtle. "I am going to fight with the turtle while you stop the octopus. 30 gunners should aim at the lobster." Kai commanded the army as he raised both of his swords while advancing toward the turtle. He had a few reasons why he wanted to fight the turtle. Firstly, because of its size. With 5 meters in height alone, under the turtle were many magical beasts. As long as he took it down, he could kill all the magical beasts below him and created a superior wall on this hill. The other reason was because of its speed. Although it had a considerable speed, it was still too slow for him and his ears. So, he decided to fight it instead of the lobster. Besides, he could aim at its feet, since the turtle might suddenly enter its house and kill the magical beasts. With those objectives in mind, Kai leaped toward the back of the turtle without any magical beasts hindering him. The first spot would be the turtle's eyes. As he expected, the turtle went inside the shell, albeit it was only the head. This clearly told him that his plan failed. After having the first plan failed, he quickly went to its leg and sliced it with his sword. Clan Kai opened his mouth in surprise, not expecting that his sword broke at a time like this. "How hard is this turtle? What should I do with this turtle? I can't even cut its skin, let alone its shell. If only I had a vibration sword." Kai thought about it while looking around the turtle while muttering to himself, "And I still need to fight the lobster." Bam! Despite having been shot by many gunners, the lobster continued rampaging around because no one could stop him with that hard shell. In fact, the small bullet would never pierce its shell. It killed many fighters while climbing the cliff. On the other hand, Evan was treating many soldiers at a time. All of them were fighters that needed to fight in the front line again if they wanted to win, so he didn't have the time to care about anything besides him, except that moment came. Bam! Aqua! The lobsters shattered the fighter's formation as it looked at Evan while pounding its claw at Evan. Oh, shit! Evan couldn't help but throw a curse at this point. In the middle army, Tasha shot every single blue light that was coming toward the army, preventing it from attacking their army. Luckily, the beast itself didn't have any intention to come closer, so while she took down the blue light, she had some spare time to kill a few magical beasts. It was at this time she suddenly felt something amiss. The position of battle, the timing, and the unexpected magical beasts, it felt like all of that came so perfectly. Is someone commanding them? No, there should be no one capable in commanding magical beasts. Tasha couldn't help but think this. Unfortunately, no matter how hard she thought, the answer would never come. Michelle. Michelle, whose name was called, glanced at the voice direction and confused as to why Tasha suddenly called her name. "What? Come to this place right now." "Something is not right," Tasha said with a serious expression, making it hard for Michelle to reject. Michelle didn't have any specific obligation in the army, so she quickly left the battlefield and leaped to Tasha. "What is it?" "Electric lance." Before answering her, she noticed another blue light and shot it down. Boom! Everything is not right on this battlefield. Don't you feel everything is very coincidental? It's like we are fighting a human who controls magical beasts. Michelle fell into silence, looked down, and pondered something over. "I feel I have read something like this somewhere. The report says there is actually someone that controls magical beasts, but we don't know if it's a human or something else." "Something else?" Tasha furrowed her eyebrows. "I don't know." Michelle shook her head and sighed. "I don't read that information, so I don't know a single thing, and it might only be a rumor. Even so, just like how Kai acts this whole time, I fear there is something bad worrying him. Just take a look at when he wanted to reinforce the left army. Don't you think it's strange?" Michelle finally realized what Tasha was talking about. "I see. So your point is someone who might be able to control magical beasts intrude this battle, and Kai goes to the left army to see it. Finding it was too dangerous, he went there by himself." "Yeah, this is what I thought." Tasha bit her lips before creating another electric lance to shoot down another attack. "True enough. If it's the normal him, he should ask one of us to accompany him. Besides, Evan and teacher Sanai are in that place." Michelle paused and fell into deep thought. "I should go there. That might be our choice." You can leave this place to me. Considering my opponent is a snail that can only shoot out that light blue thing, I can kill it sooner or later with my lightning. I need to release my power though. Tasha wanted to go, but she also needed to see the bigger picture. Sadly, they only guessed half of his original intention right. I will tell that person first before you teleport me. Sure. Michelle disappeared for 1 minute before reappearing in front of her. Are you ready? Yeah, teleportation. She snapped her finger, creating a pink magic circle for Michelle. Be careful. Michelle smiled. You too. Tasha nodded before her eyes turned sharp, looking at the snail. She drew her bow, pointing at the sky. Lightning storm. The arrow flew to the sky right above the snail as it slowly became a catalyst to create a purple magic circle. A bolt of lightning struck forth, blasting the snail. Meanwhile, Michelle had arrived on top of the hill. Shh! She looked around and noticed that she was teleported in the middle of the battlefield. Michelle. Below her was Kai and a giant turtle, fighting in a useless battle. Kai, what are you? Before finishing her words, Kai cut in by saying, let's talk later. You deal with this intelligent, A-rank turtle. I need to go somewhere else. Kai didn't wait for her to reply and quickly leaped toward the lobster. Wait! Ah! Michelle gritted her teeth and threw a shadow weapon to Kai. Thanks. She swung both of her swords on this turtle shell as soon as she landed. It's because of you. Shadow slash roar. Unfortunately, the slash didn't do anything. Instead, the turtle suddenly whacked Michelle with its tail. Michelle sensed the incoming tail and blocked it with her sword, albeit the force still blew her away before crashing to the ground. Boom. The dust kicked up. Behind the dust was Michelle wiping the blood flow that came out of her mouth. Chapter 105. Lion and Eagle. In the US base, Ayaka was lying on the floor, having a blank look on her face. Are you giving up now? You have only died for 60 times. Just like I said, your motivation is just a weakling. The professor looked down on her like looking at garbage. I have said earlier, if you don't have a will, it's useless if I give you that since you won't be able to pass it. After enduring so much pain for the past few hours, she would surely get a small trauma. She had experienced everything from cracking bones, tearing muscles, to even slow and painful death. At a time, she even started hallucinating about her life and other things, including Kai. However, hearing the provocation made her hand twitch before her consciousness slowly returned. It took her a few minutes before she finally said, I can continue. Spatting the blood on the floor, Ayaka slowly rose from the floor while staring at Rhea Ross. I finally realize why Kai doesn't want to meet you. She pointed her spear at the professor. And another thing is, I feel like I can get stronger just by watching your movement even though I need to die many times. Yeah, that's why. Die one more time. The professor disappeared again, kicking her right on the head and cracking her skull. Not long after, Ayaka was revived and started another battle against the professor. At the same time, her friend, Evan Young, was in the face of death. Evan Kai used his fastest speed to rescue him. As soon as he arrived, he grabbed him and leaped out of there. Bam! The lobster claw pierced through the ground, killing 2 fighters on the ground. This was one of Kai's miscalculations in this scenario. He thought 30 gunners would have enough power to at least slow it down. Unfortunately, it didn't bring any effect to the lobster. The lobster swiftly moved, not letting Kai and Evan escape. Chi. Kai raised his hand and created his oscillation shield, preparing to block the claw. If he had a better stepping, he might get out of this situation just with a single leap, albeit the situation didn't let him do so. Suddenly, Kai turned to the left, hearing something from the sky. When the lobster claw was about to hit him, a bullet blasted it from the left. Although the bullet could not destroy the claw, the force behind it was enough to blow the claw away, giving Kai a precious time to escape. 2 kilometers in Kai's left soared a helicopter in the sky. The helicopter brought 5 people in it, and one of them was a pink-haired girl who just shot her sniper rifle from afar. We need to get there right now since the situation is very chaotic. She ordered the pilot, Roger. The helicopter flew straight to the hill before stopping 100 meters before the hill. I am sorry, but I can only deliver all of you to this point. If I continue, the flying beasts will surely chase me. The pilot wasn't scared of some flying beasts. He just considered the cost and other things if the helicopter was destroyed. It's fine at this point. You go to the base after this, Roger. The pink-haired girl then turned to the other four and said, "We are flying to the hill." Yes. They jumped off the helicopter and flew toward the hill. Luckily, no magical beasts were nearby, so they arrived safely. "To think you also come here." Kai glanced at the pink-haired woman. "Or do you have a mission nearby?" "It's a mission nearby. I am sorry if my presence is not welcomed. After all, we still have that agreement." The pink-haired woman sighed before saying, "We will take care of this lobster for you. No. I want two of you, or at least that shield guy to protect Evan while he heals the soldiers. The rest of you will help the fighters down there and stop the enemy." Kai instinctively commanded them as he forgot they didn't know he was the commander in this place. "Although we have lost to you, this doesn't mean you can just order us like that." Tommy furrowed his eyebrows. "He is the commander over here, though. The general has officially raised his rank to command the army for this battle." Evan helped Kai in the argument. Tommy absolutely could not believe it and prepared to rebuke him once more. But 500 military students finally arrived as one of them came to him. "Sir, we have successfully climbed the hill. Our men are attacking the magical beasts right now. Split into two groups to take care of the sea creatures and the flying beasts." "Yes, sir." The female quickly left as she knew their situation was dire, albeit her presence just turned the situation around, making the Eagle group stunned. "I don't care if you don't believe me or whatever, just follow my order for the time being until the situation is under control." Kai stared at the lobster that was coming toward him and turned to Isabel. "Actually, I want you to help me in fighting this lobster." "All right." Isabel nodded her head before glancing at her teammates. "Follow his command for now." Yes. They, including Tommy, could only nod, as Evan made a smug smile. Then, Kai leaped toward the lobster while activating his animal instinct. Isabel and Evan felt a jolt on their heart after feeling the wild beast inside Kai. He, who didn't use the animal blood inside him completely in their battle, finally used it in this place. Seeing this, Isabel smiled as she turned around and leaped to get a sniping position. "Oi, Isabel! Thank you!" Evan didn't forget to shout, conveying his gratefulness. "He can block it with that shield anyway, so you don't owe me any thanks." She shrugged. Meanwhile, Kai swung both of his swords toward the lobster, only to get intercepted by its claws. He furrowed his eyebrows and continued attacking him with his sword, before he finally noticed that the lobster had the same level of speed as him while predicting with his ears. If this were a battle between humans, it would be like two people exchanging blows with two swords. It was amazing to see, but it was the worst thing Kai wanted to see. In this case, Kai retreated a few steps back, observing the lobster. Everything looked so tough to crack, except its legs. "I will target the legs first before its body, or maybe its arms." He took a deep breath before jumping forward. The lobster sent the two claws toward him, but Kai didn't even flinch. He kept coming toward the lobster without having any intention of blocking it. The lobster thought he was going to suicide, but the claws were blown away by a bullet from the right. Without even looking, Kai knew that Isabel was ready to shoot. This shot allowed Kai to dodge the claws and go around its body before striking all the left legs of the lobster. The slender legs made it look like a weak spot, and Kai used his full power to slash them with both of his swords. Squeak! The lobster let out a sound as it fell after losing its balance. Kai didn't stop there as he looped around and cut down the right legs. The lobster tried to stop him, but the bullet prevented him from doing so. The lobster fell to the ground as soon as it lost every leg. Although his hands were a bit numb after slicing the legs, it was worth the effort since they could kill this lobster sooner or later. Then, he continued to probe every part on the lobster body to see if there was anything he could cut other than the antennas. Bam bam. The lobster still attacked him, despite having no legs. Even after going around the lobster, it still surprisingly could twist its body. In the end, Kai struck at the thin part of its arms, but to no avail. Isabel noticed Kai's intention and aimed at the part he struck earlier. A magic circle appeared in front of her gun before shooting out a laser. Plasma wind, bam. Kai focused on the strike and was surprised seeing it pierce the army. Without wasting a single second, he quickly struck the same spot and shattered the arms. As expected, her firepower is insane. The next bullet also pierced the other arm as Kai shattered it once more. Without legs and arms, Kai and Isabel barraged him with powerful attacks until it died. After killing the lobster, Isabel appeared beside him. "To think I need to fight alongside you. Anyway, what should I do next?" Kai shrugged and cut to the chase. "Anyway, we don't have the time to chat. If this hill is going down, the enemy will stampede the other battlefields. So, we need to hold the hill as long as possible. There are two magical beasts that we need to kill. A flying beast and an octopus. I will deal with the octopus while you attack the bird, that's all," Kai commanded. She pondered for a moment, recalling a few hours earlier. They never expected to be contacted, not by the school, but by the government. The detail was to head to the Cuba military base and wait for further order. Not long after flying toward the military base, they were attacked by a few magical beasts that were supposed to be living in the water. After fighting for a while, they managed to kill them and head to this place, never expecting this place was under heavy attack. Hearing his command, she nodded and leaped towards Sinai to get a better sniping position. On the other hand, Kai came to Sarah and said, "I will help you." Sarah furrowed her eyebrows and stared at him before glancing at the lobster. "Thank you. I got a special teammate that could be considered the bane of the lobster." Kai shrugged as he narrowed his eyes, staring at the octopus. Chapter 126: Tasha and the Snail. In the Middle Army, Tasha had been shooting her arrows non-stop while striking down the blue light coming from the snail. She had yet to make another move after using the lightning storm on the snail. The magic didn't go through the shell as the snail instantly went inside its house. After being blocked by the shell, the lightning continued rampaging around and killed a few magical beasts in the area. In an instant, a thought arose in her. It immediately made Tasha turn decisive. She was not the kind of person who fought unnecessary battles because of Kai's influence. Instead, she'd already imagined the situation when she faced the snail, ignoring instead of focusing. Fighting an impossible-to-beat opponent would only drain one's magic power. Rather than focusing on it, she chose to wait until the army finished the other magical beasts before attacking it together. Or that was she thought until a huge blue ball appeared above the snail. "What is that?" Tasha felt something different. She pointed her hand again, creating a lance and shooting it toward the ball before it could launch. Electric lance. The lightning lance pierced through the air and made its way toward the blue ball. Tasha's aim was to destroy the ball and created a huge explosion to kill the snail and other magical beasts nearby. Yet, the reality moved differently than the picture on her mind. As soon as the electric lance touched the blue ball, it was absorbed instead of destroying the ball. What? Tasha's eyes opened widely as she couldn't believe what just happened. She didn't know it was just a huge chunk of energy. By absorbing the electric lance, the ball suddenly contained lightning element. If she shot it right after the snail released the ball, rather than in the creating process, she would be able to destroy it. Unfortunately, Tasha didn't have the leeway to test that. The lightning started sparking around the edge as the snail shot the ball. This is not good. Tasha narrowed her eyes, observing the ball that would soon land on the army. They are going to be obliterated. Noticing the emergency of this situation, Tasha shifted her bow, snapped her finger, and teleported right above the army. Just like Tasha, Jack also figured this ball out and quickly shouted, "It's not good, fellas. We need to retreat as quickly as possible if you don't want to die." In the instant he finished his speech, Tasha appeared above the army and clasped her hand, creating a pink magic circle in the air. Even though she was still falling, it didn't take away even a little portion of her focus. A pink magic sphere rose from inside the magic circle, creating the same sphere as the magic she used in the group battle, spatial lock. Just like the blue ball absorbing her lightning, the pink sphere acted like slime and swallowed the blue ball completely. Cage. Tasha never expected to get a huge resistance from the blue ball. Even after swallowing it, the blue ball tried to absorb her space magic. Another magic circle appeared and teleported the blue ball right above the snail. Teleportation. Tasha pulled her bow, aiming at her spatial lock before she finally landed on the ground. Lightning piercer. The arrow flew like a bullet, piercing the pink sphere. Surprisingly, the sphere that could contain a huge lump of energy popped out like a balloon. After losing its momentum, the blue ball slowly descended, making the snail tremble in fear. It sneaked inside its house to protect itself from the ball. Unfortunately, the other magical beasts didn't have the capability to think of that action. As soon as the blue ball touched the snail's shell, it created a huge explosion, engulfing the snail and other magical beasts. Boom! What is that? Jack snarled with a complicated expression. He turned around, finding Tasha a few meters behind him. Is that thing going to descend upon us earlier? Yeah. Tasha nodded before looking at the after effect of the explosion. She climbed a little tower nearby just to check if the snail was dead or not. Whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, the snail didn't die, but it was still covered with wounds. Even its shell had some broken parts scattering around the area. Commander Jack, I need to strike at the snail before it could rise again, Tasha shouted as she created another magic circle to teleport her. Oh? Jack was stunned for a second and turned around only to see an empty air. Tasha already appeared in the middle of the enemy, surrounded by magical beasts. A few magical beasts noticed her presence and charged at her, but Tasha simply clapped her hand to make another teleportation magic. Teleportation. A few magical beasts were swallowed together with the snail, before appearing 2 kilometers in the sky. The first thing that came into view was a broken-shelled snail, falling at high speed. Next, she caught around 10 magical beasts that penetrated the cloud and fell together with the snail. After confirming the falling with both eyes, Tasha teleported herself out of the enemy territory. She still needed to confirm the snail's death, so she only teleported herself to a high building around the area and hid. It would seem the snail had yet to give, as it raised both of its eyes while creating a blue light between its eyes. The snail shot right to the ground it would fall onto. Boom! The dust kicked in and rose from the ground, making it hard to discern what happened to the snail. What? Tasha's sharp eyes could barely see behind the dust, but she could confirm that the snail was safe. That was insane. Is this what it means to be an intelligent, a rank magical beast? Although she could barely see the process, she could figure what just happened in that instant. She hid behind the wall, crossed her hands, and thought, the snail used that big explosion to give a force to knock it back to the sky. However, it fell too fast, so the explosion only used to soften the impact. Still, the speed was too fast. Together with the explosion, it should be half dead. This is the perfect time to kill it. Upon realizing the opportunity, Tasha pulled her bow, showed herself from behind the wall, and shot the arrow to the sky. Lightning storm. The arrow became the catalyst to create a magic circle in the sky before a bolt of lightning struck forth. The snail noticed and looked up with its tattered body. It created another blue light between its eyes, trying to destroy the lightning or the magic circle. Tasha obviously wouldn't let it. She aimed her bow toward the snail and released 2 arrows. Lightning piercer. With the snail's current state, it still could sense the incoming arrows, but its physical ability didn't let it react in time. The 2 arrows pierced both eyes as the snail trembled. It shot out the blue light between the eyes toward the sky, but with the loss of both eyes, it missed the target, allowing Tasha's lightning struck at him. Boom! The snail wasn't protected by its shell anymore, because it had been shattered here and there. Tasha's lightning exploded and swallowed the snail. Letting out a loud, dying shrill, the snail finally died. Control. Tasha released a few arrows toward the snails again. Lightning piercer. Kai taught her not to lower her guard to the dying enemies, especially the intelligent one. After all, they might even fake their death, no matter if they were beasts or humans. She remembered a few years ago, there was one enemy that pretended to be dead. Luckily, Kai separated everyone's heads to make sure they were dead, so the enemy couldn't retaliate. He didn't separate their heads just to show her, especially with humans. There were many cases that human technology could even bring someone dead alive, as long as it didn't pass a certain amount of time. Even with their beating heart stopped, Kai still did such a meticulous job. Tasha obviously wouldn't let anything escape, especially this snail. It could even survive a 2-kilometer freefall, let alone faking its own death. Phew, after checking the snail really died, Tasha took a deep breath, feeling relieved. Fortunately, I am here instead of Michelle. Looking at how incompatible they are, there will be many soldiers that die in the process before Michelle could kill it. Roar. Roar, roar. The magical beasts spotted her and a few of them changed their directions toward her. Oops, time to go. Tasha shrugged and teleported herself back to the army. She looked at Jack and shouted, "Commander Jack, that intelligent, a rank magical beast has died. We can start routing the magical beasts without any worries." Jack glanced at Tasha before shouting, "Do you hear it, guys? Our biggest threat has disappeared. It's time we push them back and show the pride of Cuba military base." "Yes, sir." The shouts from men and women soldiers echoed through the battlefield, raising their morale. Jack nodded and sent a report to the radio. "This is Jack. We have killed the special magical beast, over." "I have also killed the special magical beast in my place," Marsha interjected while looking at the giant crabs that had been shattered by her brutal strength. "We will have a delicious crab for tonight's dinner. That's why we need to survive." "Same here, though we still need to deal with 3 other beasts," Kai said. "The situation is a bit chaotic, but still under control. I have sent 100 fighters and 100 gunners to the left army. They're going to arrive in the next 15 minutes, Marsha said with a relieved tone. "Good work, all of you." General Sanders could only say this as he was still occupied with the flying beast. Chapter 17, Turning the Situation around. At the same time, despite having told the situation under control, Kai and Sarah still had trouble killing the octopus. Kai leaped toward the octopus and struck forth with his 2 swords. The swords managed to touch the octopus skin, but slipped away from it. Teach! Kai narrowed his eyes, thinking about what to do. The sticky mucus that covered the octopus made his attacks slip. The same applied to Sarah, making them somewhat frustrated. It was a transparent white mucus, albeit no one would think about something lewd because of its appearance. Even Sarah's ice was blocked by this sticky mucus, and covered Sarah disgustingly instead of lewdly. Kai had been dodging the sticky mucus from the octopus completely, but the mucus already covered his swords. However, he could see the difference between his sword and Michelle's shadow sword. Unlike the sword he always used that might not be usable for this battle anymore, Michelle's shadow sword only had some parts covered with mucus. The sword has some kind of resistance for this mucus. "But I still can't cut the octopus," Kai pondered for a moment while dodging the octopus attacks. After around a minute or so, he finally got an idea to kill the octopus. "Commander Sarah, take care of this octopus for a while." "I have got a plan," Kai shouted, and left without waiting for Sarah's reply. Besides, Sarah's personality made him lose hope to wait for a reply, so he completely ignored her and leaped to Michelle Kai. Michelle slashed the turtle's feet once more before glancing at him. "What are you doing here?" He took a glimpse of the turtle's condition. Wounds almost covered its entire body, from the cut wound on its legs or even some crack on its shell. Michelle had been ruthless this entire time. "Can you make me 2 huge swords? I will use them for this battle instead of a normal sword." Michelle instantly realized what he was going to do. The magical beasts had some hard shells to crack that a normal sword alone might not be able to cut, so he must be planning to use it to utilize his extraordinary strength. Unfortunately, she only guessed what he would do after fighting the octopus. As of now, he only thought of it as a weapon that could let him beat the octopus. Michelle nodded and created 2 two-handed swords before infusing more magic power inside them to add some weight to it. This would surely let Kai utilize his strength. Although he might sacrifice his speed a bit, he would gain a considerable amount of destructive power. He didn't have this idea in the Battle of Prince Rupert, because there was no need for this type of sword, since the battle could be solved pretty easily. However, this battle turned into chaotic, and the number was no joke. Kai seriously wanted to finish this battle as soon as possible by utilizing these 2 swords. "Take this." Michelle threw both swords before the turtle tail came out of its shell and struck her. Kai noticed the attack and leaped to the air, grabbing both swords mid-air. He landed in front of Michelle and struck on the turtle tail. "No, you don't." Kai gritted his teeth and channeled every ounce of strength in his body before both the tail and him were blown away by each other. Although Michelle was surprised, she quickly released a follow-up attack by sending a shadow slash, running through the shell and arriving at the tail. Roar, roar, roar. It gave a cut wound on the tail. There were a few wounds there already, and the new wound struck a few of them, making it more painful. Kai felt the heaviness of the shadow swords and nodded. These 2 swords would give him the power he needed right now. "You are sacrificing half of your speed to use these 2 swords," Are you sure you are going to be all right? Michelle asked worriedly, because this was the first time Kai used something like this. It's all right. There is only 1 hour left before your father arrives from our west. I feel your grandfather will also come at the same time. As long as we destroy all of these troublesome ones, we can easily hold for an hour. Kai glanced at Sinai and Isabel. It would seem that Said needed more time. The A-rank bird might have some wounds here and there, but Sinai also had some injuries on her. Isabel only needed to snipe them, albeit the birds would always distract her and protect the bird boss. Even her firepower that could crack open the lobster's hard shell was rendered useless, because the bullet would explode the moment it touched the shield bird. In the end, Sinai could only fight the bird alone unless Isabel could snipe the bird through. Kai looked back at Michelle. In any case, I am going back. Be careful. You too, Kai nodded before jumping forward. Sarah noticed Kai's presence and asked, "What is your plan? Can you freeze its tentacles?" "Even a portion is fine since the sticky mucus will also be frozen. At that time, I will strike at your ice and cut one of its legs. We might not be able to kill it in one strike, but after losing all tentacles, it will be a piece of cake." Kai smiled as he glanced at Sarah. Sarah sucked a cold breath after taking a glimpse of his eyes. She felt that his eyes were wider than earlier, and it released an aura of ferocious beasts. She shook her head and regained her calm. "Understood. I will coordinate with you. Follow me." Kai leaped toward the octopus and raised his weapon. Seeing the octopus slammed one of its tentacles at him. Bam! "Tentacle on my left," Kai shouted at Sarah while holding the tentacle back. The octopus slammed another tentacle at him, but a cold aura came from his left. "Freeze." A rite of ice appeared on one of the tentacles, freezing the sticky mucus and making it look like a ring. Without hesitation, Kai leaped to the left, dodging the slam with the second tentacle. The octopus sent another tentacle to attack him, but Sarah jumped past him and blocked the tentacle. Seeing how she worked, Kai had no time to waste and strike at the frozen area with all of his power. Ha! The sword shattered the ice, and without the sticky mucus covering it, it also managed to slash the tentacle. Fortunately, Tasha also made the two-handed sword a bit longer, reaching almost 1.5 meters. It cut the tentacle cleanly from top to bottom. "Good. We finally made some progress." Kai looked at Sarah and pointed at another one. "We will bring down this octopus in 5 minutes." For the first time in her life, she respected someone younger than her and shouted, "Understood." After knowing the way to win, they moved in sync like a pair that had fought together for a few years, albeit it was only because Kai was aware of her movement with his ears and acted accordingly. Just like Kai's order, the octopus finally died within 5 minutes as Kai delivered the killing blow. This octopus finally died. He looked at the octopus while sighing. Sarah saluted before asking a question. "What should we do now, Sir Kai? Should we kill the turtle since it's almost died?" "I will handle the turtle. You go help with the bird. After that, just deal with the rest of the birds since I am going to help the soldiers with the sea creatures." Sarah narrowed her eyes for a moment before nodding. "Understood. I shall carry my duty perfectly." Kai tilted his head in confusion, wondering why she acted differently. Unfortunately, Sarah already went away. Well, with the addition of her, Isabel will also get a chance to fire, so I don't need to worry about them anymore. He took a few deep breaths. Then, Kai closed his eyes for a second before opening it back, revealing sharp eyes, unlike his usual eyes, before leaping toward Michelle. Michelle looked at him in amazement while dealing the last blow on the turtle. Thud. The turtle fell as Kai finally descended on its back. "Number C. I have activated it for a while." Kai shook his head with a smile. "There is actually nothing wrong with this other than these eyes, since I only borrow a little bit of its power. Am I too adamant on this? Nah. Everyone will be like you. After all, if not because of me, you won't need power like this." She smiled gently. "Besides, this power is quite useless, since it only increases my strength and instinct." Kai sighed. "No, I feel it's far more useful than you expected. After all, take a look at Isabel's eagle blood that gave her eyes and an additional affinity for wind manipulation, or even Evan's useful healing ability. All of you got the same level of ability. In fact, you, as the first generation, got a lot more. If you accept the blood fully, your eyes will be strengthened like a normal lion. Well, I still have one thing that I am unsure about if I truly accept it. Kai said apologetically. Hee hee, I know you are thinking about me. Since your birthday is coming soon, do you want to go there? Maybe after the new year? Kai pondered for a moment before saying, ask me again near the date. Michelle didn't push him too far. She knew Kai might not be ready to meet her again, so she nodded. Okay, still, we need to fight a few thousand beasts while preserving our power. Kai turned back to the monster after catching his breath. It would seem we need to fight together in close combat. What do you think? Fufu. I am in the front, right. It's my dream after all. Kai closed his eyes and smiled abruptly. He certainly remembered her dream to be a hero on the battlefield. Although she had matured after a few years as her dream changed from a hero to a powerful warrior of the Graham family, she still had a trace of the past dream in the depth of her heart. You have been fighting for me in the shadows and always supporting me. This time I will let you shine. Kai smiled as he looked around if there was a good spot to strike, until he finally heard from the left, Bam Arg Michelle that way. Kai pointed his finger before explaining his plan. We will close that gap before moving toward the furthest position and chipping away their number. It might be better if we can create a wall of dead magical beasts in the left so as to restrict the enemy's movement. Sure. Michelle raised her sword and slashed downwards, unleashing a black shockwave that struck the gap between the soldiers. Shadow slash, let's go, sure. Kai nodded as he followed right behind Michelle. Chapter 1-8. Mermaid. Meanwhile, Michelle's grandfather, Nathan, had flown over the Atlantic Ocean right beside Florida before arriving at Bahama. The journey was unusually peaceful, as if they were going to fly over the ocean. Some magical beasts would attack them. No matter how small their number would be, at least one magical beast would attack them. Following the safe journey, they didn't see a single sea creature hovering around the sea surface. Nathan didn't like this because the sea looked like the calm before the storm. The thing that made him uncomfortable was not the peacefulness, but the thought about what kind of nightmare the people at the base experienced. They couldn't send a radio message for them because of the distance, so Nathan could only grit his teeth while clenching his fists. Father, I'm sure they are still all right. Kai might not look at it, but he is a prodigy of his own. Considering Professor Rhea Ross had taught him, his head should be above the rest. Brian comforted him even though his hands were shaking. I know that. But there is too much uncertainty in this mission alone. If I know this would happen, I won't send him there to gain experience. Nathan blamed himself. At first, he thought that this mission would surely give Kai a battlefield experience and might even give some relationship with the army. Unfortunately, his careful planning turned into a nightmare. Father, is a protector really there? Brian asked. Yeah, judging from how Kai described them, I'm sure they are there. However, please refrain from talking about it, because it's still a military secret. I will tell Kai about this as his rank as a Zodiac and a student of Rhea Ross would allow him to learn their identity. Nathan let out a long sigh. I thought I only needed to tell him after he graduates from school. Nathan sighed. After encroaching for a few more minutes, the pilot finally notified them. We finally see Cuba. Although it's only barely, we can see many huge magical beasts swarming around the field. The pilots scanned the nearby area before they noticed a dolphin swimming around a human. However, when he focused on the human, as he was curious why a magical beast would hop around her, he saw a kind of fishtail under the water. Jerry, do my eyes fail me? The pilot asked his co-pilot. At first, I see a human female floating on the sea with a dolphin hopping around her. But when I focus my attention, the female has a fishtail. What are you talking about? Don, although this world has become like this, no, maybe because the world has turned like this, you are hallucinating of a mermaid. His co-pilot laughed. Take a look at that. He pointed in the direction of the human female, so his partner could testify his sight. This is. Jerry dropped his jaw after seeing the fishtail. They were flying an aircraft carrier filled with soldiers and had lowered their altitude since they were going to jump down after arriving at the place. This allowed the pilot to have a sight on the sea. Albeit barely even so, it was enough to let them see a shadow underneath the water. Seeing his partner's reaction, the pilot immediately sent an announcement. We have met an unknown creature on the sea. Her appearance is like a mermaid with a human body and a fishtail, asking for an order. Nathan's expression darkened after this announcement. Ethan also had the same expression as he also boarded this plane. They exchanged looks and confirmed that it was their target. Nathan turned around to see both of his sons and said, "After this, you are taking the command. Michael should also arrive at this moment and work together with him after you arrive. The children are our priority." At the same time, Ethan grabbed the phone that connected them with the pilot. "Increase our altitude and pass them in the sky. Tell this to the other carriers as well and make no contact with the creature that you see. Tell them not to inform the soldiers," he ordered the pilot. "But sir, we are going to miss the landing point since we need to lower our altitude once again before we reach the safe limit to let the soldiers out." The pilot was hesitant, as he could already see the place where he could drop the soldiers. "Shut up and follow my order. My order is also General Nathan's order. Even if you need to miss the target slightly, it's fine because the creature you see is more important. And open the door. Nathan and I need to fight that creature, sir." The pilot was really hesitant, as this was not according to the standard operation procedure. "I am commanding right now. Do you hear my order, soldier?" Ethan was out of time, so he just snarled. The pilot paused for a few seconds before his hand reached a button while saying, "Yes, sir." Ethan quickly dropped the phone and walked toward the back of the carrier with Nathan, without any parachute. The soldiers were staring at them, but didn't dare to speak anything after hearing Ethan's rage. "Let's go." He looked at Nathan, who nodded his head. After a nod, both of them jumped off the plane. The mermaid seemed to have noticed their presence as it turned around and looked up. Ethan released his fire wing and grabbed Nathan before placing him on the surface of the sea. Surprisingly, Nathan didn't sink. Instead, he was walking on water, staring at the mermaid with narrow eyes. "Kai, you should be able to hear me from here, so I am going to tell you this. Whatever you learn after this, don't tell anyone about it, including Michelle. I only allow you because of your identity. Rhea Ross would eventually talk about it with you, if not because of this event. So, please understand." Nathan left a message. If Kai could hear the mermaid, he should be able to hear his voice too. "For what reason does a person like you come to this place?" Nathan released his killing intent tria tabuta gerio. The dolphin looked angry at him, spitting unknown words. Nathan only glanced at the dolphin for a second before looking back at the mermaid. "It's because humans are foolish." The mermaid, that had been talking in a strange language since yesterday, suddenly spoke in a human language. "The truth could only be disclosed to those who are qualified. Unfortunately, you are not one of those." "Then what do you mean about qualified? And what is the requirement?" The mermaid didn't answer him as she looked at the dolphin with a poker face, signaling him to go back. A staff that had been underwater earlier finally revealed its appearance, alarming Nathan and Ethan and making them retreat a few meters. The staff was made of pure gold, with a radiant green jade as its eyes. It had beautiful fin patterns as a decoration to complement the green jade's beauty. Despite having a beautiful appearance, Nathan and Ethan could only stare at this wand with dread. The moment the mermaid raised the wand, a whirlpool slowly appeared on the sea surface before gradually rising to the air. The height of this water alone reached more than 50 meters to the air, forming a half-person body. It looked like a water elemental, a half-body monster made of water. It raised one of its hands and pounced at Ethan on the air. Ethan swiftly made a red magic circle before shooting a large fireball. "Humph, your puny fire wouldn't work to my water elemental," the mermaid snorted. "Heh, is that so?" Normally, water would extinguish a fire, but Ethan had another trick on his sleeve. As soon as the fireball touched the water, it exploded, blasting all the water on its hand. This explosion destroyed its palm. The mermaid wasn't too surprised about this, since these two old men must be prepared to face her. If not, they would go with those planes and help those people on the land. She only smiled while waving her hand. "Yeah, I said so." The hand that had been blasted by Ethan suddenly regenerated and made its way toward Ethan Waterjet. At this time, a voice came from above the sea as 3 moon-shaped water flew at the hand and cut it into pieces. Without the support of the main body, the hand finally dropped to the sea and became normal water again. The mermaid wasn't flustered, as it continued regenerating the water elemental while moving its other hand to Nathan. "I believe you should also be paying attention to me." Nathan made a smug smile as he was preparing a shield for the next attack. Suddenly, The water elemental opened its mouth and shot high-pressure water toward Nathan on the sea. Nathan realized the hand was not the main attack, and quickly made a magic circle as the water slowly rose before gradually forming a sphere to protect him. Water barrier. Nathan, are you all right? Ethan couldn't help but shout, noticing something wrong with that attack. After a few seconds, the water stopped and revealed Nathan's appearance. Nathan was already wet all over his body. His hand already created a barrier to protect him, as the water barrier had a hole right in front of him. Oi, 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 seriously? Nathan let out a long sigh, not expecting to be that insane. He noticed that the mermaid snapped her finger to control his water barrier so that her attack could go through. As I said earlier, humans are so foolish, the mermaid said with a pacifying tone, looking down on Nathan and Ethan. Chapter 12:9. Turning around. The situation. Meanwhile, Michael also had entered Cuba's sky as the pilot and co-pilot could see the magical beasts. General Michael, we've spotted the horde of magical beasts. Michael quickly rose from his seats and went to talk with the pilot. Are they fighting on the hill? Yes. Although they are swarmed by the magical beasts, they are not at a disadvantage. I can see a few special ones. But are we going according to the plan? Go according to the plan. We have a number here and don't have enough time, Michael answered, after pondering for a while. Michael signaled his assistant to take care of the preparation. They were flying inside a military cargo plane. With Graham families and Ethan's reputation, they managed to acquire 5 military cargo planes capable of carrying 100 people at once, while 75 of them were paratrooper soldiers. In other words, almost 400 soldiers could immediately join the war and start the evacuation. But sir, we have spotted a huge number of flying beasts around the hill. We are afraid we can't get too close to them. Seeing the battlefield's condition, Michael pondered for a moment before saying, get us as close as possible and drop there. After that, land the plane on the military base and be prepared to take off again. Following his words, certain communication was captured by the radio. This is Hercules, asking for communication with the general. Please respond. The communication alarmed the pilot as he searched around before finding a military cargo plane behind the magical beasts. It was a bit far, but he was somehow still able to find them, sir. We get in contact with another group. Although it's barely, we could see them coming from our 10. We have yet to confirm their number. They are asking to talk to you, sir. Michael closed the phone and quickly entered the pilot cabin. He put on the headset that the pilot gave him and asked, Michael speaking. Brother, we have confirmed the protector, father and Sir Ethan are fighting against her father's order is to evacuate the kid. However, we can't go to your position. Brian, Our priority is the kid. With your direction, you should be on top of the middle army. Drop there since Michelle and Tasha are there, according to Sanders. After that, ask the middle army to the right while your group is going to the left army. Michael didn't give a complicated command. Understood. I will also ask some of my men to escort Michelle and Tasha to the military base and get the general idea from the commander in charge. Good luck. Michael took off his headset and headed back to the soldiers. They had a massive preparation and were ready to jump off the plane. Michael quickly grabbed his equipment as a few seconds later, the door was opened. The sky is clear to drop off. As soon as the signal to drop was on, the soldiers began jumping off the plane. Following them, the other 4 planes also dropped the soldiers. On the battlefield, not only Kai, but all soldiers also heard the roaring of airplanes' engines. They took a glimpse of the military cargo planes in the sky. Sarah swiftly used this chance to encourage the soldiers. Listen up, soldiers. Our reinforcement has come. Use your all in these few minutes as we will win this battle. Yes, ma'am. The soldiers got pumped up, knowing that this battle would end up in their victory as soon as the reinforcement arrived. On the other hand, Kai could only frown as his ears picked up a distress sound. 1 battle on the sea, big reinforcement on the middle army, and 1 reinforcement on our left. Kai retreated from the battle as he formulated the plan. He knew that the reinforcement in his left would surely come to take him away. However, the distress sound of Michelle's grandfather made him hesitate. Knowing that the situation became pretty bad on Nathan's side, he had no choice than to man up and turn the situation around. As he thought about the plan, the reinforcement finally came. Attack. Boom, boom, boom. A few elites quickly used big magic to trounce the magical beasts as they entered the left battlefield. They swept the magical beasts on the hill before climbing the hill to help the soldiers that had a hard time dealing with the sea creatures. With the battle turned into a stalemate, the general Michael appeared before Kai. "Where is your group? We need to have you and your group retreat from this battle." As soon as Michael came, he roared, "A mermaid, a protector." Kai glanced at Michael with a doubt. "As you might have heard, you can ask about it to Father. For now, we will retreat with all students in the area." Michael shook his head with a severe expression. To his surprise, Kai shook his head and rejected it. "Num. I am not saying this as your father-in-law or Michael Graham, but I am ordering you as a general in the army." Michael rebuked him with an intense aura. "I am not rejecting it because I am stubborn." "Then what?" "I will give you 30 seconds to explain yourself before I bring you back, even with force." Sir Nathan and this, Sir Ethan, are having a problem at the moment. They are pressured by this so-called protector. If it goes on like this, I am afraid they would lose. Even though they are already old, both of them were former highest-ranked generals in the army, so they should be able to hold out for a moment. Kai pondered for a moment before saying, "But if we destroy the magical beasts here, we can make the so-called protector retreat. I could somehow hear around 1,000 soldiers as our immediate reinforcement. If it's like this, we can turn the situation around and wipe the magical beasts out within an hour. I am sure without the magical beasts, this seeming protector would surely retreat back to the sea. This is the best scenario. If the situation turns slightly to what I predicted, I will immediately go to the base and retreat." Kai explained his plan with determination. Graham family had helped him when he almost died in Alaska. Judging how the battle situation, Nathan and Ethan would surely fight the mermaid until the battle ended, since they sent Michael to rescue him. Kai had no problem picturing how Nathan and Ethan could fight her for 1 or 2 hours. But the problem was, after that, if the reinforcement needed to escort them, the battle in this place would become a bit longer. At that time, he wasn't sure whether Nathan and Ethan could still hold her back. After pondering for a few minutes, this was the best conclusion he could think of. Michael fell into silence. He exactly knew what kind of being the protector was, as he had fought one of them when he was in the military. It was a hell fight for him, and despite battling for a few hours, the protector didn't die. Instead, it ran away after killing a few most elite people in his team. Like Kai, they were blessed by a high amount of magic power and used their magic consecutively. After listening to Kai's words, he fell into deep thought. The battle here is only focusing on the flying beasts and sea creatures. As long as the elites could hold off the sea creatures for around 30 minutes, the gunners surely can kill the flying beasts. After all, we have around 1,000 gunners at the moment. Then, we can help the fighters and elites to rout the magical beasts in this place. Judging from the reinforcement on the other army, they can send half of them to deal with the flying beasts of our reserve army, and the rest would pincer this. Position from behind. As long as I have Tasha rampaged on the middle army, I can be sure they would only need a few minutes to rout the rest before coming to our direction. Michael raised his hand, stopping him from talking. "All right, I understand your plan. I heard that you take the command of this entire battlefield. Is that true?" "Yes." "Good, tell all armies to do exactly your plan. I will inform the second reinforcement." Michael nodded before taking out the radio. "Brian, lead our reinforcement to rout the magical beasts there before going to my position. We have a change of plan to get the best result we hope for. I will explain it later, so don't ask anything for now." Without waiting for an answer, Michael switched the line of his radio. "Delta 1 and Delta 2, where is your position?" "Over, Delta 1 here. We will reach Cuba's airspace in 2 minutes. Head to the hill and torch our enemy from the back." "Over, Delta 1. "Roger, Delta 2, roger." Kai was happy about this, even though he didn't show it on his face. He quickly took out his radio and said, "Commander Jack, I need you to inform my sister that she doesn't need to hold back and send all the magical beasts flying." Jack also saw the reinforcement on the air, so he complied. "You got it. Soldiers of the left army, it's time for us to turn this situation around. Gunners, let the reinforcement take over your job and change your target to the flying beasts. Make sure you don't leave a single flying beast alive. Fighters, coordinate with the reinforcement to hold for about 30 minutes, as we will attack the sea creatures with our full force after that." Kai suddenly shouted to command the army. Chapter 130. End of the battle. The situation turned pretty serious after Kai's rallying cry. He just wanted to boost the army morale, albeit many of them didn't recognize him. Only the reserve army realized his identity and roared with high morale. "Oh!" The shouts spread around the battlefield. Even though they didn't know why they were cheering, they just followed the roar before realizing the meaning of the information from earlier. It gave them hope to win this battle. Without wasting their time, they killed the magical beasts one by one. The situation brightened a little, as around 1,000 gunners suppressed the flying beasts. The soldiers that Michael brought were also no joke. They were pummeling the magical beasts from one side to create a wall that Kai instructed Michelle. As soon as the wall was created, they quickly moved around and attacked them from another side. Kai could finally let out a breath of relief. Not only the soldiers had done their best, but his lion group also fought bravely. It was a shame that Ayaka didn't participate in this war, since she could learn many things. After a few minutes, Kai heard two noises, faster than sounds, flew toward them. It happened in an instant, as a few explosions occurred in the back of the enemy. Boom, boom, boom. The soldiers only knew the explosions were coming from an ally, and a few seconds later, 2 fighter jets flew above them. The soldiers cheered once more, and surprisingly, it was far louder than the cheers from his rallying cry. Although he didn't care about it, it still slightly hurt his feelings. Michael appeared beside him and patted his shoulder. "This is the battlefield. You need the rank and officially recognized by the army and soldiers, especially if you want to get help to rescue your little sweetheart in United Asia. Even if the government doesn't support you, the army here might support you." Kai could only nod his head. "I know. We need power to grasp everything. I am not someone who wants to achieve big, but I don't mind supporting Michelle to achieve something big. After every wish has been fulfilled, I will just retire and enjoy my life." Haha, I shouldn't teach my soon-to-be-born child something like this so that he could lead the family well. Michael laughed abruptly, patting Kai's shoulder a few times. Kai shrugged before saying, "The baby is still 1 month old. You are too ambitious. Then, he still needs a few years before you can teach something like this." "Oh, are you saying you want to give me a granddaughter son first?" Michael smirked, teasing him. Kai only stared at him with a poker face and had no intention of replying to him. Michael sighed and apologized. "Sorry, it's a sensitive topic for you. Well, considering Rhea Ross's skill, it's only a matter of time." Kai sighed and changed the topic. Meanwhile, the Middle Army was having a surge of morale. Not only Tasha started killing the magical beasts like crazy, but the reinforcement also came at the right time. They quickly controlled the situation. "Tasha!" Brian came to her after dealing with the magical beasts. Jack also ran toward them, asking for an order. "Sir Brian." Tasha nodded, putting down her bow. "You are the commander of this army, right? Bring the Middle Army to reinforce the right army. My army will go to the left army and help the reserve army." Brian nodded. "Sir Brian, I wish to follow you. I believe the reserve army will need my bow." Tasha looked at him with a severe expression. She had been preserving her magic power this whole time. Despite having used the teleportation magic a few times, she had yet to exhaust her magic. She could still fight one more battle to help the reserve army. Although he wanted to reject her, it was true that having more people would be good. He called out loud, "Albert!" The third son of Graham family quickly appeared as he glanced at Tasha before looking at Brian. "Change of plan. I will lead half to the reserve army, while you lead the rest to the left army. Brother Michael is there anyway, so there should be no problem." All right. Both armies moved in unison. It took only 2 minutes before seeing the reserve army. Their situation certainly did not look very good, considering they needed to hold a few thousand flying beasts with 400 people. They might have killed more than 1,000 magical beasts, but half of them already died in battle. Even Sanders was frustrated by seeing this scene. On the other hand, he could only keep this up without giving any complaint, because the left hill was more important than this place. A few hours passed, and he once wondered when would Kai sound a retreat. Although he didn't know Kai that well, he still knew that Kai would never choose the worst possible action. The moment the reinforcement came, it took him only an instant to know the battle situation. The situation might not look good, but it was still salvageable. Lightning Piercer, Ice Piercer. General Sanders heard the voice in the midst of the battlefield before finding one lightning arrow and one ice spike flew toward the sky, piercing one magical beast respectively. Sanders instantly realized and shouted, "Soldiers, our reinforcement has arrived. This is the time we deal with these flying beasts. Make sure no beast is alive, as we will avenge our fallen comrades." "Yes, sir." They nodded with a smile because they had been waiting for this moment. On the other hand, Albert took half of the reinforcement to give a decisive attack on the left battlefield. Boom, boom, boom. The two fighter jets were still bombarding them with the few missiles they had. The missiles were still effective against the magical beasts. However, if they used this in their invasion, they would alarm the magical beasts nearby, and before long, they would swarm them. Only at a battle like this could they use the fighter jets, since they knew no magical beasts would be attracted to it. Besides, with the size of magical beasts alone, it was certainly not very effective. After 2 more rounds, they came back to the US base. With how costly they were and not very effective, they didn't have many of these things. The US base would rather make many cargo planes and helicopters, so they could send their people conveniently rather than crafting this type of plane, thus resulting in the high number of cargo planes and helicopters that even students would have the luxury to use. Kai looked to the side, noticing the reinforcement would soon come after the fighter jets finished their bombardment. With how the soldiers reacted earlier, he decided not to shout anything again and only muttered to himself, "This is the last sprint." 1 hour later, Mukta Teria Piola. The dolphin suddenly broke its silence in the middle of the battle, under the premise that every word from the enemy was equally dangerous and made them unable to obtain more information. Nathan and Ethan attacked her again. Water jet. Fire arrow, chi. The mermaid clicked her tongue before controlling the water elemental to destroy both attacks. "It would seem I need to go back," said the mermaid as she fixed her red wavy hair. "It turns out that my every move has been calculated." "No, I couldn't say it is calculated because you all were getting flustered every movement I made." The mermaid could learn the battle state because the dolphin used its echolocation ability. A dolphin's sound frequency range was 0.5 to 150 Kz. The lower frequency vocalizations, which usually less than 50 Kz, were likely used in social communication. Meanwhile, the higher frequency or above 40 Kz were primarily used for echolocation. In other words, the dolphin could also see the battlefield movement like Kai before transmitting everything, so the mermaid could decide their next plan. Judging how they intercepted my every movement and the fact that you old human talked in a low voice, I see. The mermaid paused for a moment before saying with a smile, "He must have good ears to the point he could use the same ability as my pet to locate the magical beasts." Nathan and Ethan turned serious. With just a single exchange with her, she could already realize Kai's power. This would truly be a troublesome opponent, as her brain might even be higher than other protectors. Since our position has become a bit closer to the land, I suppose Heesh can hear me from this distance. The mermaid made a smirk as she said, "Humans are foolish creatures, not knowing their death is around the corner." Despite being hit once because of their foolishness, the humans still repeat the mistake. "Oh human, you, who listen to many things that others aren't able to, could you hear the shrill coming out of this planet? Shall you manage to listen to the shrill of this planet? It would be the moment I invite you to my home to learn the truth." After saying all those words, the mermaid dove down and disappeared from the sea along with the dolphin. Nathan and Ethan were not going to chase her. It was not like she was fast or something, but the sea was too dangerous. Unlike the magical beast on the land, the number of magical beasts on the sea was even higher. Even before the civilization was overturned, they could only take a glimpse of the wonder. It was too dangerous for them to venture to the sea if they couldn't even take back the land. Rather than risking their life on this, Nathan and Ethan exchanged looks before going toward the battlefield. Chapter 131, Protector. "Haha. This guy is good." Ethan laughed out loud, patting Kai's head. "Still, you are pretty reckless. I have ordered you to retreat alongside Michael, but you suddenly have a change of mind and disobeyed my command." Nathan sighed, not knowing whether to praise him or mad at him. It was needed. After considering all things, I changed my mind to strike back at our enemy. You should be praising him, Nathan. After all, this boy changed his mind to make the best decision at that moment and saved us. Ethan shrugged. Though I want to ask for the answer regarding that. Kai looked at Nathan and Ethan, expecting an answer. All right, I will answer your question after this. Nathan nodded while looking at the party. After having a big battle, they should enjoy themselves with a big party like this. We are going back tomorrow, so meet me after this party. He left Kai alone after that. As the hero of this war, the general and commanders from their respective armies thanked him. Although only a few soldiers that knew he was the one who commanded them through the battle, the thought alone was enough. His presence slowly disappeared, and before long, he slipped out of the party. After the party, Kai walked outside the base without anyone accompanying him. Inside the hangar were Nathan and Ethan, chatting about some random things while waiting for Kai. It was easy for him to locate both of them even without Nathan telling where to meet. Nathan glanced to the right as he noticed Kai's presence. He waved his hand, asking Kai to come and sit beside him. Kai glanced at the round table with 3 chairs and nodded. He walked to the base without rushing while checking the base's situation and whether they were alone in this place. Don't worry, I have told Michael to make them drunk until tomorrow, Nathan assured him before sipping his wine. Yeah, I also have informed my son, Ethan shrugged, looking at Kai slowly sitting on the empty seat. In any case, I want to thank you first for taking the command of this war. Not only you display your ability brilliantly, but we also lose only a third of our soldiers. Even my son wouldn't be able to do that. This is only because of my ears, said Kai humbly. Besides, the soldiers did a good job. Without them fighting bravely, we wouldn't win the battle. And if General Sanders has this hearing ability, he would surely do a better job than me. Indeed, Ethan nodded before continuing. Anyway, you are going to learn about the beings called Protector. Only you can know this, because you are one of the Zodiac as well as Rhea Ross's apprentice. Your rank is still in process thought. It usually takes a year or so to give you the perms for information and other secret things. Thank you, sir. Just know that this is still unofficial, so don't tell others about it. In fact, just treat it as non-existence. The official document will be given to you after the process is finished. Ethan finished his pieces and glanced at Nathan, asking him to continue. Nathan pondered for a moment before explaining, I don't exactly know where to begin this, as we also don't know about the Protector that well. They are something like magical beasts, but have human intelligence and such. They are not always mythical creatures in your mind, such as mermaids. Back in the day, I met a talking frog from the sea. His power was so strong, and it ended with my group being defeated. There are many conspiracy theories in the higher up because of this Protector thing. However, there is certainly one thing that is for sure. Kai, if I ask you where the magic power came from, can you answer it? Kai fell into silence. After reading books or attending lectures, not a single time, they discussed this. He was wondering why Nathan mentioned this when they were talking about mermaids and realized the answer. Under the ocean. That's correct then. Which ocean do you think? There were only 5 oceans on Earth, and one of them was answered. Kai pondered for a moment before answering. Pacific Ocean. Nathan smiled and shook his head. It's the Atlantic Ocean, more accurately, a Bermuda Triangle. We have tried locating the exact locations, but we don't know anything except for the general position. At first I thought you could hear the sound if we sent you there, since sound can travel better in the water, but the plan carries so many risks. First, we need to carry you by plane, because you wouldn't survive if we travel with boats. Then, we need to get closer to the water surface, or enough for your head to dip inside the water. Before long, we would be attacked by tens of thousands, if not 100,000 magical beasts. Yeah, that's not possible. If we want to use this plan, we can only stay around 2 kilometers, 500 feet, and deal with the flying beasts. In other words, we can't search for anything right now. We need to conquer the land and the sky before exploring the sea like the old Earth. That's it. What do you want to ask about this Protector? I will tell you the information and my personal opinion. You can search the information legally after getting the formal document. Nathan finished with a shrug. Kai looked down, weighing something in his mind. Why do they call us humans foolish? Nathan and Ethan widened their eyes, not expecting this to be the first question he asked. We don't know. Ethan shrugged. Maybe they are more intelligent than us. So they call us foolish, Nathan joked. Listening to their heartbeat, he believed both of them were serious. However, he just felt there was another meaning behind those words, especially those last words. He asked, "What do you think about those last words? What is the shrill of this planet?" Nathan and Ethan fell into silence. Ethan glanced at Nathan and sighed before turning to Kai. "Actually, I don't know. We are also thinking about this, hoping you know about it. After all, the Protector itself has a dolphin beside her, so I thought your hearing could listen to that." Nathan nodded in agreement. "I want to ask you that question, to be honest. Now, I know you also don't have the answer. I will also search for the answer, but seeing the message is directed to you, you are the one who needs to search for the answer." Kai looked down and nodded. "There is no point in thinking about it. With how mysterious they are, I might only find the answer in the future through some coincidence. I doubt it, though. And since it looks like a big problem, I wouldn't mind not finding the truth." "Haha! With great power comes great responsibility, can go to hell." Ethan laughed out loud. "I am not a fan of this either. After all, one should do something they want. That's what makes us human." Nathan coughed a bit. "Of course, if all of them are like you, then this world is screwed already. Sometimes, you need to give up your will to fight for the better. Though if you just fight blindly for the sake of humanity, then it's better to make a robot. I also wouldn't marry my granddaughter off to you. Haha. You know what? This old man's opinion is exactly the opposite of mine. He is the real fan of those shitey words. I fought it out with him, and both of our opinions merged and became what he said just now. All right. We end this topic here and end the discussion. Any more questions? If not, accompany these two old men through the night." Nathan looked at Kai before pouring wine for him. "Actually, there is one more question." Kai looked down, hesitant to ask, "What?" "It's more a general question. Why are they called protectors, and what beings are they?" Kai suddenly asked the first question that he should ask. A trace of surprise appeared on Nathan's face before he started explaining. "Right. We haven't talked about it because of your absurd first question. Let's see. You have known that the magical beasts are ranked from F to S, right?" Kai nodded. "And inside those ranks, there are the intelligent type magical beasts, which usually only appear on A and S rank magical beasts. You have seen the A rank here and the S rank in Russia. That's Snake God or something. Actually, there are two more ranks above them. SS and SSS rank magical beasts. The Protector is the SSS rank magical beast. As for why we call them protectors, they called themselves like that. They said, 'We are the protector of Earth, preventing the Earth from extinction,' and some other bullshits." Kai looked at him for a few seconds, noticing something off. "What's about the SS rank magical beasts? Nathan hesitated to tell him, despite his rank, and exchanged looks with Ethan. "If you want to learn the SS rank magical beasts, it's better to ask your teacher about it," Ethan answered. Kai tilted his head before thinking about one thing. "Is my teacher related to this?" Nathan and Ethan didn't answer him and sipped their wine. "Just ask her already. She's quite missing you. Your birthday is on 1st December, right? Why don't you visit her? I am sure you will get many presents from her." Nathan shrugged. Ugh. Kai still felt a bit repulsive to meet his teacher because of a bit of trauma from his side. Haha, alright. Time to end this serious conversation. Just enjoy the wine after the battle, said Ethan nonchalantly. Chapter 132, End of the Day. The next day, Colorado, US base main military base, Kai walked out of the cargo plane. "We surely have done a hard mission this time." Michelle walked beside him while stretching her body as if she was tired from this mission. Indeed, some time off would be nice. Tasha appeared in the opposite direction of Michelle, glancing at Kai with a hidden intention. Kai closed his eyes for a few seconds before nodding his head with a smile. "Maybe some days off would be nice. I agree." Michelle and Tasha answered at the same time. Kai smiled before turning around to inform Evan, albeit, what did you say? You were lucky that my group was around your place. If not, you would already die, Isabel snarled. My leader's shield is not easily broken. Even without your help, we can get out of the way pretty quickly. His eyebrows twitched as he shouted back. You already saw how powerful his shield was in the group battle, Cage. As if it was a good counter, Isabel couldn't rebuke that claim. Even with her full power, Kai's shield was still intact. She gnashed her teeth and changed the topic. Then, what about when your leader asked me to help him defeat the lobster and other magical beasts? He just used the most efficient way to end the battle. By the look of the battle state, we could just buy time for a little longer until the reinforcements arrived. Evan shrugged. Meanwhile, Michelle glanced at Kai with confusion while watching these two. Why are they fighting? It's nothing special. Kai shook his head with a smile. Did their family have any relationship or whatever? No, I never heard about it. Isabel's family is around our Graham family level. On the other hand, Evan's family is 1 or 2 levels lower than our family. From what I know, there is no relation between these two families. Michelle closed her eyes as if she recalled a piece of memory. Though I know that these two were from the same school before transferring to our school. Heh! Kai was amused as he grinned. This is interesting. Oh, now that I think about it, it's really something hilarious. I can see why you thought Evan was interesting back in Prince Rupert and asked me to investigate his background. Michelle chuckled. Tasha silently observed the fight between Evan and Isabel as if she was watching a soap drama between a couple. Though I am not sure about it, I will just let them have their time. Kai smiled. Still, you haven't answered my question. Why would they fight like this? Who instigated it? Michelle asked. It started last night. Isabel came to Evan and bragged of her achievement. Even with Evan's patience, he could no longer hold it and snap, resulting in this fight. Kai shrugged. As for why she would brag to Evan, I don't think I need to answer the question. Surprisingly, Evan also answered her. Michelle and Tasha chuckled before noticing that Kai already walked away. Let's go home first, Kai said as he was wondering where the vehicle to take them home. A few minutes after the landing of their cargo plane, the next plane also landed. Michael came out of this place and quickly walked to Kai. Come here first. Michael stopped a few meters from them before calling Kai to come. Kai exchanged looks with Tasha and Michelle before walking toward Michael. Michael grabbed him before whispering, I am sure you already know about the secret, but don't talk about it to anyone. Even if you want to ask your teacher, ask her when you are alone with her. With how mysterious they are, the fewer people know, the better. After all, we can't let others know that there are legends like mermaids or talking animals. Don't worry, I know the weight of the information. I won't easily blabber such a thing. Kai nodded, assuring him. After getting a nod from Kai, he sighed. Anyway, with this mission, your group would surely enter the top 100 and get your personal helicopter. Just don't break it for a dangerous mission, because the state has concentrated its resources on military transportation. We can somehow build that many, but if one is destroyed, it would still give a powerful blow to our pocket. I am wondering where you could find money to build those many helicopters. As you already knew in the fight against magical beasts, we would need mobility as our top priority. That's why we are not making any tanks or other similar things. Instead, we focused on transportation, since it would be the best one. And since when I said money, Michael smirked. Kai tilted his head in confusion before slowly realizing his meaning. Resources, haha, it seems you have gotten the answer. That's right. With the condition of our planet right now, we can easily grab other countries' resources. Of course, it would also be hard missions for the soldiers, but the gain is still worth it. It can be said we have been censoring the resources from the countries around us to build a giant base. I am sure other bases also did it like that. Let's talk about United Asia. They must have gathered many things from Korea and China, even though they were fighting on the China border. If you closely observe them, there would be some small-scale invasion to acquire resources. They would transport it with cargo planes or military helicopters. This can be another reason why we don't build many tanks. Michael grinned as patted Kai's shoulder. Anyway, go back first and rest. Go to the first gate of this base. My butler is waiting for you there. As for Evan and the Eagle Group, their respective families are waiting in the second gate. All right, he nodded. Then, see you later. I still need to see the reports. Ah, it sucks to be a family head like this. Too many jobs. Michael walked away while complaining. After watching him leave for a few seconds, Kai turned around and walked to Tasha and Michelle. Our transportation is waiting for us at the first gate. Tasha and Michelle exchanged looks and nodded. Then, Kai shouted to Evan and Isabel, I don't know why you keep fighting with each other like a couple, but your respective families are waiting for you in the second gate. We are not. Evan and Isabel rebuked him at the same time. Whatever. Kai shrugged before looking at Evan. I am sure we wouldn't have a mission for the time being, or at least until the middle of December. So, you can do whatever you want, whether you still want to hang out in our usual camp, or having a date. You are free for a month, understood? Evan nodded. How about you start training your physical ability? That way, you wouldn't become a hindrance to your group. Isabel smirked as she teased him once again. I have been training, Evan snorted. Then, why don't you show it? You are still a hindrance on the battlefield. Gee, I shouldn't heal your teammates. Evan gnashed his teeth. On the other hand, Isabel's teammates could only smile, understanding this word, fight. They knew about Isabel's little backstory, and could relate why she would become like this, so they just watched them from the side. Kai shrugged. Anyway, I have told you, so I am going now. Without waiting for them to reply, Kai already slipped away and grabbed Michelle and Tasha. They walked toward the first gate, searching for Michael's butler, albeit with such a butler, a car suddenly arrived in front of them. The butler came out to open the car for them. Please. They nodded. The journey to Kai's house was less than 15 minutes. Tasha observed his expression and said, I will prepare the bath for you. You can use it first. Nah, I still have something to do. Besides, Mum and Dad aren't here, so I need to call them first. Tasha waved a hand. A few minutes later, she told Kai that the bath was ready. Kai entered the bathroom, taking off the clothes before entering the bath. Feeling the relaxing hot bath, his mind found peace. He looked at the ceiling. The memory from the battlefield couldn't help but resurface at this time. The focus was not on how he brought 4,000 people to the victory against all the odds, but how he led more than 1,000 soldiers to their death. A path of sacrifice. Kai raised his hand like he wanted to grab the sky. I didn't put a thought in this because I was occupied with the battle, but those who died would surely have a family. His hands started shaking. Even though he was a bit indifferent to a matter like this, it still shook his mind. After all, no matter how big his achievement was, he was only a student. Even with a world like this, a normal high school student would surely have a doubt in their heart after sending more than 1,000 people to their death. Then another memory flashed in his mind. He muttered to himself, Is this why the protectors said we are foolish? What is the planet's shrill? Have we done something wrong this whole time? And should I believe what they said? Kai held his hands. Seeing them shaking, Michelle's dream also entered his mind. A hero, in a path of sacrifice. Could that still be called a hero? Kai paused for a minute before muttering, I shouldn't think about this. Just like how she supports me, I will also support her wish. If everything turns out to be wrong, then I will be there for her to receive the punishment. In the bath, Kai thought many things, and not until 1 hour passed did he finally come out. Chapter 133. Ayaka's battle. Kai came out of the bath and found his sister in the living room, preparing tea for him. Have you calmed down? Tasha smiled and waved her hand, asking him to take a seat. Yeah, thank you. Kai nodded as he took a sip on a warm tea. Looking at your expression earlier, it feels like looking at me from a few years ago. Tasha smiled as she also took a seat beside him. Do you remember that? Kai closed his eyes, sipped his tea, and nodded. It's a few years ago when you killed humans for the first time. If I am not wrong, you can't even eat a tomato for a month. Haha. Right. Tomato Mom and Dad were worried at that time because it was too sudden. Luckily, that happens was only for a month, and I acted normal again. On the other hand, it's normal for you to have such an expression after leading such a big-scale war. She gently smiled. Where are Mom and Dad? Kai asked. Oh, they're shopping for daily necessities. Kai nodded, and the room fell into silence again. Anyway, how about you take a bath first? All right. She nodded and left him alone, so he could think about it more, albeit she missed his intention. Kai pulled out his communication device and searched for Ayaka's contact. How are you doing? Sadly, the answer didn't come even after a few hours, so he could only retire to his bed. Meanwhile, Ayaka was wearing plain white clothes, looking like a patient. After getting a lot of preparation from the professor, she was finally ready to take the fight on the other side. Rhea Ross brought many blood bags with her. Professor, if I may ask, How many bags are you going to inject into my body? Ayaka asked with a complicated expression. Ah, don't worry. I am only planning to inject 2 bags inside. The rest are human blood that is compatible with you, human blood. Ayaka was astounded. Ria pondered for a moment before saying, I should explain it to you first. There are 3 possibilities for this experiment. First would be a success. The blood would fuse in your blood and stay dormant. It might be like instinct or whatever, but you would be able to control your blood, whether you want to activate them or not, or so what Kai told me. I didn't participate in the creation process of Pisces, Sagittarius, or Taurus, so I lack data. Meanwhile, the second possibility would be when you half succeeded. For this, I will describe the process itself. When I inject the blood into your body, the animal blood will become active and chip away your human blood. This will cause a reaction, and you would feel pain. This is why I want you to get used to the pain first. After all, you need to use your magic power to fight back. Kai could easily do this because of his unwavering will and his magic power, making this operation so easy. On the other hand, you are a princess that has been living comfortably for many years and only tried to shed your empty shell not long ago. At the same time, your magic power is quite high for a normal person, but still not comparable for the animal. You would find trouble in fighting the animal blood. In other words, the only way I can do to increase the chance is to make you used to the pain. This allows you to stay calm under the treatment because I will be injecting the blood into your body when you are awake. The animal blood would eat your magic power blood and organ before replacing it with its own, leading to the second and third possibilities. You will either die or turn into a half-magical beast. Dying is fine since you won't cause trouble. But if you turn into a magical beast, I would need to kill you. Well, Kai would probably hate me after that. Ah, if you are wondering what kind of half-magical beast I am talking about, you wouldn't become a man's dream, such as ears and tail. Instead, you would look like a monster. It's literally half-magical beast, half-human. Your hand might be human, but your feet might be animal and so on. That's why I am asking if you are ready for this. Have you gathered your resolve? Ria Ross explained while preparing the blood bag and all equipment. I am ready, Ayaka answered without any hesitation. One more thing I need to add. I won't inject any painkiller to you because you need a natural body without having unique substances in your body. Understood. I will do anything as you say, Ayaka nodded before bowing her head. Ria paused for a second. All right, the blood that I will inject you is from wildebeest, specifically blue wildebeest. This species can be considered as one of the fastest animals on the land. In terms of speed alone, it is equal to lion, which is Kai's magical beast. Of course, a power like this sounds too good to be true. Kai's lion blood is hungry for prey. If he continuously used that power, his instinct would slowly take over him and attack his own teammates. That's why he never uses it extensively. As for the Pisces and Sagittarius, I am not really sure, but from what I saw, Pisces lost his attacking ability. In other words, he is only a weak person who can only heal people. On the other hand, I am not very clear about the latter one, so I won't spread any misinformation. Do you have a question about this? Ria Ross asked before finishing her preparation. No, I don't have one. I will leave all of the important things to you, Professor. Ayaka paused for a moment before glancing at her with hesitation. Actually, I have one request. What? I don't like having to fulfill other requests. Since you are Kai's woman, then I would allow it, Ria nodded. This is not a complicated request. I just want to ask if this operation ends up a failure, can you hide it from Kai? And tell my family that I have died because I was reckless and charged at the magical beasts alone. Oi girl, let me tell you one thing. I hate to promise someone something, but I didn't like how you leave it up to fate more. Come on, if you only have this little determination, I will just cancel this and be done with you. Ria shrugged. Listen, I have broken my promise with Kai because of you, so rather than having that weak will, it's better for you to say you are going to succeed. All right? Since you have no other question, I will begin the operation. Yes, please do. Ayaka sighed as she looked at the blood slowly flowing before entering her body. Slowly. The first blood bag is still normal. I will start pumping the second one before replenishing your blood. Ayaka nodded as she sweated profusely. She began experiencing pain not long after the blood came inside. It was like something sucking her blood and spread the pain. Luckily, the pain was still bearable as she didn't let out a single sound. As soon as the second blood bag was emptied, Ayaka let out an uncomfortable moan. She started suppressing the blood within her body. The process is going well. However, be ready as the real fight would be when the blood enters your organs. It would be a battle of endurance, so I hope you can succeed. I hate funerals, Ria shrugged as she continued monitoring Ayaka's condition. Ayaka had no time to deal with her joke, so she only closed her eyes to grasp a better focus on her magic power. I can do this, she muttered to herself. Unfortunately, the pain started growing even further, jolting his body and mind at the same time. Even though Ayaka was accustomed to the pain to a certain extent, the pain that accumulated in this operation was beyond her imagination. Ash, her eyes opened wide as she let out a scream. This is going to be troublesome. Blood percentage is going down, while the heart rate is also going down. Ria Ross quickly grabbed another bag to inject it into Ayaka. Don't lose to the fight, Highs. I should kill her 200 to 300 times first before injecting this. Arg. Ayaka couldn't hold it anymore. It wasn't just her blood that was swallowed by the magical beast blood. Her organs started getting infected and released a more painful wave to her nerve system. The pain continued to her heart, liver, and so on. Her body was covered with pain as her body started shaking uncontrollably. Her eyes started looking like a magical beast faster than Ria expected. This would only happen if Ayaka couldn't endure it anymore. What should I do? The only one who can fight the blood is herself. Ria Ross pondered for a moment without letting all information escape unnoticed. What am I going to with this? She gritted her teeth before looking around. If this continues, then the only result would be a failure. But what should I do? Ria Ross looked around, hoping for enlightenment. Whether it was fortunate or unfortunate, the answer came in the form of blood. She looked at a cupboard with many blood bags inside it. She appeared instantly in front of the cupboard and opened the lid. These blood bags were her personal collections. Ria was a bit adamant about using this, but she gritted her teeth. She didn't have any choice other than grabbing the blood bag and injecting it into Ayaka's body. Chapter 134. A Raid. The next day, Kai went to the school for the sake of reporting his mission and receiving his reward. Many students were busy with the class, while he walked nonchalantly in the corridor. He didn't break any rules since students wouldn't need to come to the school after finishing a mission. In other words, this was his day off. Michelle could get it instead of him, or maybe in a few days. However, this mission would allow him to get into the top 100, giving his group a personal helicopter. The amount of paperwork needed to be dealt with was tremendous, so he decided to come as the leader of Lion Group. The student council would help him with the paperwork, so no reason for him to be slacking. After walking for a few minutes, Kai arrived in front of the student council room, knocking the door a few times. Knock, knock. Kai waited for the response as he heard two people inside. After a few seconds, a male's voice resounded from within. Ah, it must be Kai Carter. I have read your message. Please, come in. Excuse me. When Kai heard the voice, he opened the door and went inside. The two people inside were precisely Brian and Mia, the student council president and his vice. A smile appeared on Brian's serious face as he greeted Kai. It's been a while, I guess, since you usually come here with Michelle. Well, I am the group leader, so I thought I would handle this myself, Kai replied with a genuine concern for Tasha and Michelle. Sorry, but there are only two of us here since the other two are in class. We are going to update your group points and ranking in a minute, Mia said while walking toward a table with a stack of papers. Yes. Thank you for your help. Kai nodded. Come here first, so you can check your current ranking. The president waved his hand, telling him to go to his table. Kai slowly walked toward him. The president was typing his keyboards before projecting his screen on his table. The screen only had one name. 76 Lion Group, 56900 points. Your last mission earned you more than 20,000 points. I will transfer the money after this. If I am not wrong, it is 1 million or something. This shows the appreciation of the army. The president retracted the screen. After all, you have commanded the army bravely. I heard from my father that you are fighting gallantly on the battlefield, taking command of 4,000 people and directing the reinforcement. I would like to thank you for your effort, as the military base could be operated like normal again soon enough, Mia added as she walked toward Kai while bringing a few pieces of paper. Your father? Kai tilted his head in confusion. Ah, did he not introduce himself? Mia lifted her eyebrows before replying, My father is the commander of the Middle Army, Jack Carr, thud. Kai opened his mouth in surprise, remembering what kind of person Jack was. He was utterly speechless. Even after taking a few deep breaths, the words still didn't come to his mind. Fufu. Mia chuckled like she expected such a reaction. What? Do you think we are nothing alike? Ahem. Kai thought for a moment whether to answer with a yes or a no. Without waiting for him, Mia continued, Haha, no need to be like that. I heard it every now and then. Unlike his free spirit, I am more like my mother. But I could assure you he is a great commander and father. Yes, he is indeed a great commander. Without him, the Middle Army would probably collapse. Kai nodded in agreement. Although he couldn't see it by himself, his ears still recorded the situation in the Middle Army, and he knew that without Jack, it would be run over by the military beasts. Mia nodded before discussing the business again. Since you have officially become the top 100, your group will receive a personal helicopter, though you will get it from the group that you kick out of the top 100. There are a few things that you need to take care of your personal helicopters. It will be great to have personal transportation for the mission, but you also need to take care of the helicopter with care. First, the helicopter couldn't be destroyed, as it would cost a great resource. The pilot has been informed about it too, so he would never go too close to the magical beasts. The school would pay for the maintenance, but the fuel would be on your group. Of course, it looks more like a burden instead of an excellent transportation. However, since you have entered the top 100, more difficult missions are available to you. You will get more money and points that way. If the helicopter is somehow destroyed, then your group would need to pay it. Before you can pay it, the school, or rather the government, wouldn't give you another one. Do you have any questions? Mia finished her explanation. There is one. What about the pilot? Do we need to give a share to him? Kai thought for a moment and said, No, the government will pay for them. All right. Kai nodded. This is the information about the helicopter and all the things you need to know. As for the official form, let's sit there so we can fill it. I will guide you in filling the forms. Mia smiled as she guided him to the couch before handing the forms. While Kai was filling the form one after another, the president suddenly remembered another thing. Ah, I almost forgot about this. There is a raid event in the school for the top 100 groups. This is a mandatory mission, as well as a joined mission with the military. This can be hard or an easy mission. We, the student council, will also join this mission. The president suddenly interrupted as he walked around the room as he searched for something. Ah, this is it. We have found a nest underground in Quebec, Canada. According to the military, there would be many creatures inside the nest and cohabited with each other. Mostly bugs such as ants, termites, earthworms, or even mice. According to the scout, the nest was huge with many tunnels and many magical beasts, making it impossible to search the entire nest. There are around 5,000 soldiers that will participate in this, with an addition of us and another 500 people from military school. The military wants to train us through this raid. Of course, even though this is training, it would be a real battle. That's why they asked that no groups below the top 100 can participate. This shows how important this mission is. Our mission is to exterminate all creatures inside the nest, or at least to understand the scale of the nest. I believe your ears are capable of perceiving all those missions, so I am glad that you joined the top 100. I believe with your track record, you will also take command of the army, or at least a portion of them. Kai was astounded, never expecting another big mission after the last war, how to resign from the top 100. Somehow, I don't want to enter this position again. Haha, I know how you feel. We, the student councils, also deal with a raid mission like this from time to time. In fact, there will always be at least one raid mission every year. The purpose of this mission is to train the students as well as expand our border. Kai paused for a moment and sighed. I feel like another person would certainly make me join this mission. Haha. If you are talking about Sir Nathan, he is the leader of this operation. Yeah, there is no way he would leave me alone. Kai sighed. Resigning of his fate, Kai asked, when is it? after the new year. The specific date is still unknown. According to the information, the ant takes 50% of the population there, so we are going to attack them in the middle of winter. Although ants have a big population and can be seen in various places from spring to autumn, they go into hibernation in the winter. The body temperature of ants changes in response to the atmospheric temperature. In winter, their body temperature falls so greatly that their movements inevitably grow sluggish. Therefore, the military wants to use this chance to attack their base. I can understand their reasoning. Kai nodded and looked down, thinking about something. Depending on the result, the battle will last from days to weeks. Unless we know that we can't wipe all of them out within a month, the mission would most likely get cancelled as the army will take over. How big is their tunnel? Kai asked, wondering how many people would fit inside the tunnels. They are coming in different sizes. It's like each species has a different size, so we can't really judge it. Of course, if you're asking about the ant, the hole is around 10 meters in diameter. It is pretty big, so we can send around 100 people at a time. Kai couldn't picture it with only this information. Knowing that Nathan would most likely invite him to this mission, it would be better to ask him for more information at that time. He didn't talk about it anymore and continued filling the form. It took them 2 hours just to fill the form because he needed to fill at least 15 pages and some clarifications. After finishing his task, Kai stretched his hands tiredly before saying goodbye to Brian and Mia. Chapter 135. Ayaka's Condition. After receiving the reward, Kai quickly made his way back home. Surprisingly, upon entering his house, Michelle was the one who greeted him. Hee, I know you are going to school, Michelle smirked before glancing at Tasha, who suddenly appeared beside her. Have you done all the paperwork? Yeah, we can use the helicopter anytime since we just need to call 1 day prior. Kai nodded, telling them the necessary information. I already know about it, so you don't need to worry. Michelle pointed her finger to Tasha and smirked. But she needs some lessons about it. Should I, the great Michelle, teach you? If I'm going to have someone teach me, it would be Kai. Tasha snorted. Kai didn't say anything. Instead, he just threw the guides that he got from Mia. Just learn everything from here. I've read it on my way here, so I don't need them anymore. It's only about fuel, schedule, and some standard operation procedure. Well, I'm the one who needs to deal with them, so you don't need to learn anything. Even after telling her that she didn't need to read it, Tasha kept the papers, thinking that she could manage a portion of what Kai required to do. Kai already did many things, so it would be better to read them. Kai looked at Michelle and Tasha for a few seconds, wondering if he should tell them about the raid mission. He ended up not telling them because the mission itself had yet to be announced officially. Besides, Nathan would surely be the first to inform them. By the way, it's almost November then. There is your birthday in December. Do you want anything for a present? Michelle asked him directly since she was in a dilemma. As a rich girl herself, she could buy practically anything in Kai's mind, but she was afraid that Kai wouldn't be happy with an expensive item. It was better to ask him first and buy them, as there was no need to surprise him since by the end of the day, Kai would be able to hear it. I don't need anything at the moment. If I can choose, I'd rather have a quiet month. Kai shrugged. Ah, for the mission, or me? Michelle asked. Mission, of course. We can just take a mission at the end of November. We need to take another mission in December, but we usually don't, because it would be hard to fight in the snow. Of course, on some occasions there would be some battles, but most soldiers usually celebrated the new year in the base peacefully. That's why, if we take one at the end of November, we only need to take another one in January, if not February. Michelle grinned, trying to beat the system. Oh, let's go with that. Kai nodded in agreement. We can just take a simple mission. Sure. Michelle nodded. By the way, have you contacted Ayaka yet? Tasha asked. I have, but no reply yet. Kai shrugged. She must be training or participating in family matters. Kai shrugged. Yeah, you're right. Tasha nodded before walking to the living room and reading the papers. Meanwhile, Michelle was talking with his mother. While they were talking about Ayaka, the real person finally opened her eyes after being unconscious for a whole day. The white ceiling and the reeks of blood jolted her mind as the memory from the previous operation resurfaced in her mind. It was unbearable pain, and she was wondering what kind of person the Zodiac was before. Kai, the first Zodiac, would surely have no prior information or guidance, as Professor Ria also didn't know what would happen to him. Evan and Isabel, at least, had some information, even though there was only Kai as the example. There were two other people besides them, and they managed to endure the pain completely. Ayaka remembered that the last blood that Professor Ria injected could calm the berserk of the wildebeest blood. She observed her surroundings and noticed that she was still in the operation room. Her entire body was still too weak, even after struggling to move them. The best thing she could do was moving her finger. It was 2 hours later before Ria entered the room. At that time, Ayaka could already move her hand. "It seems you are fine," Ria said with a complicated expression. "Congratulations. I guess you have won the gamble." "Gamble?" Ayaka asked with a hoarse voice. "What gamble, Professor?" The answer didn't come immediately as Ria Ross checked her condition, blood pressure, and other things first. After ensuring everything was normal, she grabbed a chair and sat beside the bed. "Tell me about your experience first, especially about the part when you couldn't endure it anymore." Ria opened her notebook, preparing to take a note about Ayaka's experience. Of course, Ayaka knew it would be better to discuss the operation first before going to that idle topic. She thought for a moment and said, "When the first blood entered my body, it was fine as the pain was endurable. The pain suddenly spiked up when they began eating my organs, heart, liver, and so on. After that, the second type of blood entered my body and reduced the pain. It was like the blood helped me control the wildebeest blood." Ria recorded it on her personal note and stared at it. "Professor." Ayaka tilted her head and called her as the professor began immersing in her own world. "Well, there are 3 types of blood inside your body right now. The first is your human blood. Then the other 2 were magical beasts' blood, wildebeest and leafcutter ant blood. A few days ago, I checked your blood to see the compatibility with the magical beasts while I was training you. At that time, wildebeest came at the top while leafcutter ant came at the third. Which blood that came to the second?" Ayaka asked, wondering why she chose the third one instead of the second one. "It's wild boar's blood." Ria paused for a few seconds. "This blood and wildebeest blood are very active, so if I inject the wild boar's blood into your body, it will create a reaction against the wildebeest blood. From my hypothesis, it would cause rejection and a high chance of death. That's why I am using the leafcutter ant." Leafcutter ant is a passive magical beast, so it should be able to contain the wildebeest blood. Ayaka was astonished, but she only understood half of them. Noticing the confusion, Ria continued her explanation. "You should know about leafcutter ants before they evolved, right? How would they swarm food with their colonies and could easily be killed? That's the principle I used. When the wildebeest started taking control of your body, the leafcutter ant would get threatened and attack the wildebeest. After that, you could easily suppress both types of blood." "I see." Ayaka sighed before looking at Ria with a serious expression. "Thank you, Professor. Don't be too happy yet. You are literally becoming a human with 2 animal blood inside. There are still too many unknown factors that I need to observe first. That's why you are going to stay at least a month in this place for further observation. We are going to see what kind of power you get too. And with your relationship with Kai, I don't mind helping you to get your new fighting style." Ria shrugged. Sorry for doing all of this for me." Ayaka didn't know what to say. Despite all resolves in her heart, she couldn't withstand the pain in operation. "No need to beat yourself. You can be considered as one of the zodiacs right now. As for which zodiac you are, I need to test your ability first and leave the registration of your ability later. For now, don't tell Kai you have become one of the zodiacs. I am going to tell him myself." Ria sighed, finding the future look bleak. "I will also tell him at that time. After all, Professor only did this because of my request." Ayaka shook her head and said with determination, even if Kai would be angry in the near future, she would just use the time for forgiveness. "What are you going to suck up to me with this? Sorry, but all your effort would be in vain because I would only take 1 student in my life." Ria shrugged. "No, anyway, recover first. You should be able to move completely tomorrow. So meet me tomorrow to start our training. Understood?" Then, Ria left her for another day before she rechecked her. By the next day, Ayaka was already walking around while stretching her body. It even astonished Ria Ross. "How is your condition? Do you find anything about this new ability?" Ria asked. I don't know what this is, but as soon as I can move my body again, I feel light. In fact, I could move faster." I feel like if I'm running right now, I will run through the wall, Ayaka explained. She was also confused by this sudden change, as it felt like it was not real. I see. There is an increase in power and speed. Ria took a note. Besides, look at this. Professor, Ayaka suddenly walked toward her bed before lifting the bed with her two hands. Ria Ross narrowed her eyes as she didn't sense any magic power. This would mean she had a great increase in strength. All right, put that bed down. And if you run and destroy my wall or any other things, I will be mad and chase you away. Are we clear? Yes. Or follow me. We're going to check your physical ability. Chapter 136, Sound Levitation. After getting 2-day rest, Kai and the others went to the school again, lazing around in their room. Kai had nothing to do other than researching for another sound-based attack or support magic. At first, he wanted to take the levitating concept since it could float him in the air. Unfortunately, he couldn't imagine how he used it, considering he was a close-range fighter. If he was a sniper, gunner, or archer, he could shoot his enemy down from the sky. With how he fought in close combat, he needed to move around a lot. Meanwhile, the levitating concept didn't work because the concept required 2 plates. You are researching again. Michelle sat down beside him. On the other side, Tasha was also researching something, so she didn't pay attention to him and Michelle. Yeah, what about you? Kai nodded before asking her back. Training my shadow. Michelle pointed to the shadow behind her. The shadow was massaging her shoulder like a human with fluid and precise movement. I need to have perfect control of one shadow first before moving into 2 and so on. In the last war, I realized that my control wasn't good enough. It might be enough to move around in the open field with a few basic movements. However, the intelligent magical beasts made me think otherwise. If I can fight alongside my shadow, I can build up a group of myself. My current target is 5 shadows with fluid movement. Kai nodded and turned back to his own research. All of them had their own share of works, including Sanai, who needed to make an assignment for the class. Kai told her that he could see what kind of assignment he made, so he thought it would be better to make it in her own office. To his surprise, Sanai only answered him with, "It's peaceful here, and I can drink or laze around. I don't even need to put on a facade as a good teacher." The statement perplexed him since he thought Sanai was a special teacher who loved lazing around. However, she said because she was still in the trial period, the teacher contract could be terminated at any time, so she needed to put up a facade for a while. At that time, Kai's poker face turned into a smile, laughing at this silly matter. In the end, Kai let her do what she wanted. The assignment wasn't hard to begin with, so even with or without a sneak peek, it was done in a matter of minutes. By the way, are you going to get another magic concept? Michelle asked while looking at the research paper. It's sound levitation, Kai answered nonchalantly. Levitation. The word of levitation piqued Michelle's curiosity. It looked like Kai wanted to fly in the sky, so he researched this. After all, there were 5 members in their group, but the only person who could fly was Ayaka. If they jumped off the helicopter, only Ayaka and one other person would be ready in combat. It would be a different case if Kai learned flying ability. They would be able to jump and join the fight right after, since all of them would be able to leave the helicopter. Of course, Evan wasn't in the calculation because he was a healer. It's nothing useful from what I see. I have tried to twist some concepts to make it useful in battle, but I don't have high hope. Kai shook his head in disappointment. What do you mean? Kai didn't answer her immediately. Instead, he made 2 magic circles in front of him. The magic circle was spherical, albeit the 2 were split into half and opposed each other. This magic required 2 magic circles. The bottom magic circle takes the role of a transducer, a vibrating surface that makes a sound. In contrast, the top magic circle takes the role of a reflector. A sound wave travels away from the transducers and bounces off the reflector. This condition allows the reflecting wave to help to suspend objects in mid-air. Kai put on his headphones as Michelle quickly asked, "Is this going to be loud for me?" "Yes." Michelle only looked at him with condolences. Before continuing, Kai put another layer of sound insulation around his ears. He activated the magic circle before pulling the teacup on the table. His finger dipped inside the tea, wetting his finger. Michelle was astounded. She thought Kai was going to drink it first before giving a demonstration. At the same time, Tasha, Evan and Sanai were interested in it too, as they glanced at Kai while doing their own things. He let the tea droplet fall in the between two magic circles. The surprise came at this time, as the tea droplet, which was supposed to fall, floated without any sign of falling. Astonishment filled all the people in the room. These two magic circles weren't his new magic. It was a magic circle to produce sound, while the other one was a magic circle to reflect the sound wave. His vibration sword magic circle had the concept of these two. After floating for a while, the magic circle as Kai took off his headphones. That's the concept of levitating sound in a simple way. Kai sighed. Why are you disappointed? Can the magic circle make you float in the air? Michelle asked. No, I set this magic circle to 22 Hz, which is on the edge of human hearing. If I use more frequency, you will hear the loud noise like attending a rock concert. It was super loud to only levitate a little droplet like this. If I want to use it to levitate my body. Kai didn't continue, but the other realized what would happen. I see. Not so promising about the concept, I guess. Michelle made a weird smile. That is only the original concept. I think I can tweak some concept and replace it with magic, but there is no promising lead at the moment. Kai sighed. I understand the importance of this magic, since we have our own helicopter right now. Just don't overwork yourself, Michelle advised. Yeah, I can use half the concept to soften the falling, though. Like I make a magic circle on the ground with enough power to soften our fall. Then we can jump off the helicopter, Kai said before looking down, finding a problem. But I will also need some catalyst, because I wouldn't be able to make a magic circle too far away from me. What are you guys talking about? If you want to jump off the helicopter, you can just ask me. I will teleport us together to the ground. Tasha couldn't help but comment. You know the answer. Kai shrugged while pointing his finger at Tasha. Michelle chuckled before grabbing the teacup and replaced it with a new tea. Thank you. After satisfying their curiosity, Sanai and Evan focused back on their job. Kai also began his research again, but suddenly, his communication device rang. This was not his usual communication device, but the device that Sanai gave in the hospital. She said that this device was connected to another device, which was supposed to be in Sakura's hand. He had been refraining from communicating with her because the situation there wasn't stabilized yet. That was why when he received a message from her, Kai frowned his eyebrows, wondering if the message was a good one or not. Yeah, it's already a decade since our last meeting. Maybe not since we have met in the school. Unfortunately, at that time, you didn't realize my identity, so it's such a shame. On the other hand, if you see this message, I am sure you know my identity already from a certain person. Though I want to talk to you, I'm afraid I can't. Firstly, after a few months, the situation in United Asia has calmed down. Because of the loss of both sides, there are many daily reports about deaths in the news. In the end, Tokyo has become a disruptive city, and many start leaving the city. Even the school is suspended there. The situation turns into a cold war between the north and south, with Tokyo as the epicenter. Don't worry, I am safe here, and there is no possibility of a big-scale war happening soon, or at least for around 6 months. That's why, if you are reading this, enjoy your life at the moment. After everything is fine, I will go to your place and meet you. Although I miss you, it's better we meet after the peace comes to this land once again. At that time, let me have some private time with you. P.S. I will try to send once a month, and please don't reply to this message. Even though the situation has calmed down a bit, I still need to be careful. Kai fell into silence, staring at the message. This might be the first time he heard the word of Sakura or Yajima Haruko after a decade. Michelle noticed his expression and peeked at the message. Oh, the way this message talks looks like Sakura. Yeah. This is the communication device that teacher Sanai gave me. Kai nodded while glancing at Sanai. It's good then. At least she is safe. We can meet her in the future, so no big deal. After all, if the situation turns chaotic, the other families from each prefecture wouldn't look at this in a good way and might band together to stop the war, Michelle said. Indeed. Kai nodded before looking at the ceiling. He muttered inwardly. Take care. Chapter 137. Rio Ross. The days passed quickly, and even after a month, Ayaka had yet to come back. At first, Kai worried about her, but seeing there was no action from her family, she should have told them what she was going to do. In that case, Kai shook the thought away and patiently waited for her. After all, seeing how her family should act, they would be the ones who searched for her. Instead, they acted like nothing happened even after he called them to ask about her. They only said Ayaka went for a training session, but left any other information blanks. What are we going to do now? It's only a week away from where we should take another mission. Are we going without her again? Tasha asked while placing her head on the table. It would seem that after a month, she got bored with the research and wanted to have some actions. It couldn't be helped, because they didn't do anything other than lazing around this whole time. The stress would accumulate to the point they lost motivation to even do some research. Besides, they were not passionate researchers, so the stress built up quicker. Kai thought for a moment before deciding to contact Ayaka again. Unfortunately, there was not a single reply from her. Well, just wait for another week to our deadline. If she doesn't come back within a week, then we will just grab another mission. Kai shrugged while staring at Michelle for a few seconds. Do you need anything from me? Noticing his gaze, Michelle replied with a smile. Actually, can I borrow your communication device? Kai asked. Although the request surprised her, she quickly took out her device and gave it to him before asking, "For what?" Despite her question, Michelle already handed the communication device to him, showing her trust. It wasn't like Kai actually wanted to do something indecent or weird with her device. He just browsed through her contact before finding a certain name. Kai copied the number and dialed it with his device and handed it back to Michelle. With just a few numbers, Michelle recognized who it was and asked Kai with a serious expression, "Why do you call him?" Before Kai could explain, the other side already picked up the call and asked, "Hello, who is this? Are you a terrorist who would suddenly say, 'I kidnap your granddaughter, so come here and bring some money'?" The aged voice still had a glimmer of a joke, making Kai and Michelle speechless. Tasha and Sanae also recognized this voice, as they had met this person while Evan was listening carefully. "It's me." Whether he was frustrated or amused by this old man's joke, Kai said with a tired expression, "Oh, my grandson-in-law. It's rare for you to call me, and is this your number?" Nathan happily replied, "Yes, I get your contact from Michelle's device," Kai answered honestly. "Then why do you call me? Are you going to tell me I would have a great-grandson or granddaughter?" "No. I want to ask you about Ayaka's matter. Seeing how you told her something and didn't want me to know, I wonder where you sent her," Kai asked. "Aha! It seems she didn't tell you about it. Well, since she has already gone to that place, then there is no point in hiding it from you." Nathan let out a long sigh. Meanwhile, Kai was enlightened with those words alone and face-palmed before supporting his head with his hand. He realized where she went and what kind of thing she would ask. "All right. I know why she is missing for a month. You know? Are you sure you didn't have any misunderstanding? I just want to ask why you think it's the best way for her to get stronger," Kai asked with an annoyed tone. "I never said it's the best way. I only offered her two ways, a safe way or a desperate way. I've watched the battle between you and Eagle Group, and I can understand her frustration. That is the reason she went there," Nathan replied honestly. "All right, I am going to hang up," Kai sighed before putting his device down. But before hanging up the call, Nathan added another thing. "Why don't you call her? I am sure she is missing you." Everyone thought Nathan asked Kai to call Ayaka. Still, only Kai and Michelle realized the word "her" on his mouth pointed at another person. That person knew him even earlier than Tasha before disappearing from their life. "Well, it's only a call, so I guess it's fine," Kai pondered for a few seconds before replying and hanging up the call. "Is she?" Michelle looked at him with a complicated expression. "Yeah, like what you were thinking," Kai nodded in frustration. "Who is her?" "I thought she was Ayaka, but it seems I am wrong," Tasha couldn't help but ask. "She is my teacher, the one who taught me everything from fighting, scouting, and all the things for 3 years. She goes by the name Ria Ross," Kai replied. "Ria Ross." The first two people that reacted to that name were Evan and Sanae. Evan knew her because the zodiac originated from her hand. In contrast, Sanae knew her because Ria Ross was a special person in the world. Ria Ross. "Do you mean the genius rank S magician who killed the S rank magical beasts in Canada around a decade ago?" Sanae remarked with a shocked face. Evan stared at him as he remembered the fact that Kai was the first ever zodiac. "Yeah. She led 100 elites to fight an S rank magical beast. The battle was hard fought, as she lost around half of the super elites. You could say the loss was hurting them, since those 50 people were commanders that were capable of leading an army with their prowess and brain. After killing the magical beast, the tired Rhea Ross holed herself in her research room away from people. After another 3 years, she was frustrated and thought about committing suicide. At that time, a few people asked her to rest and flew to United Asia or Europe, United Base, and she chose United Asia. Surprisingly, she came right when the tragedy happened. I was only 6 years old at that time and almost died because of the injury. It was at that time I met her, and she brought me back to life with the cost of being the first ever Zodiac. She created a Zodiac power because she thought she could revive a near-death person with it, aka her fallen comrades, albeit the only person she could save was me. Maybe it was pity or something. Rhea Ross injected the blood into my body and saved my life. She treated me like a responsibility or something and took me in as her student. My parents even knew her, but she told them to keep it a secret as to prevent her name from being used or me being targeted. After that, she taught me for a year before finally coming back to this place. It seems she found another reason while the little me is having a bit of trauma with her. Kaiser's face turned pale as he recalled the matter from a decade ago. She killed me almost 11,000 times within a year as a part of the training. Michelle looked away while the other gasped. A 6-7 years old young boy died almost 11,000 times in a year. They couldn't imagine how Kai still survived up to this day. However, Sanai could finally relate why Kai would have such a personality and strength. By the way, why is Ayaka going there? Does she want to train under her? Evan asked. No, you and I are staring at the reason right now. Kai looked at Evan mysteriously. After a few seconds, Evan realized what he was talking about and exclaimed, Zodiac power. Kai sighed again before dialing a person. It would seem that the person from the other side didn't expect such a call, as she said with a bit of a flustered tone. Yeah, my beloved student, why do you call me at this time, even though you have been avoiding me for almost a decade? Say that after you killed a kid for 11,000 times, Kai answered. Oi, it's not 11,000 times. It's only 10,950 times since it's 30 times per day. And you even remember the exact number. Kai let out another long sigh. Anyway, I want to ask you about Ayaka. Is she with you right now? I thought you were going to be angry at me. The request must come from Ayaka, not you. If you truly injected the blood into Ayaka's body, you must have done it for me, hee. Such a good student you are. Anyway, answer my question. She left this place 2 days ago. Has she come back to school yet? She has left, Kai remarked with astonishment. Yeah. Well, I won't give you a big spoiler, but I think I can tell you this. She is Aries. Aries? Kai thought for a second why she named her Aries, but not a single thought came to his mind. Anyway, come to my place after the new year. You will surely regret it if you don't, Rhea Ross said with a happy tone before ending the call. Kai fell into silence while glancing at all people in the room, before he heard footsteps in front of the room. Outside the room, a brown-haired young lady slowly walked toward the room with her heart rate kept increasing. She didn't know whether she was anxious or excited, but she had prepared for this a long time ago. She gulped down and halted for a minute in front of the door before finally opening the door. Chapter 108. Ayaka's Power. Ayaka opened the door. What met her was Kai's solemn expression, while the others had weird expressions. This kind of reception quickly made her tense as she gulped down. She thought, have Kai and the others found out? Little did she know, Kai and the others just knew about it. Kai sighed and waved his hand, asking her to take a seat. Ayaka walked toward an empty seat like a robot. Her body was so tense after finding that gesture. Like Kai, who had an animal instinct, Ayaka's instinct also sharpened and noticed that Kai already found out about her. Kai's eyes never left her as she slowly sat down in front of him. He put down his hand on the table while his other hand supported his head before saying, So, this is the reason why you left us for a month. Do you want to say something, Miss Aries? Gasped. Ayaka's heart skipped a beat, looking at Kai with a guilty conscience. Meeting my teacher and asking her to do something that she promised me not to do again. Kai narrowed his eyes. Ayaka's presence became smaller. Biting her lips, Ayaka looked Kai on the eyes as she said, I apologize if it made you uncomfortable. Professor Ria only did it because I begged her. So if you want to hate someone, you can hate me. Kai's expression didn't change as he continued staring at her. I know I am a selfish person. Part of it is because of you, and another part is for my family. Even if you hate me and expel me from the group now, I wouldn't complain. I can only say, I don't regret it. Ayaka explained honestly. Kai could hear her heartbeat, so the moment she lied, he would surely pick it up. In that case, she could only gamble it all. Evan and Sanai looked away because this was their matter. On the other hand, Tasha shrugged her shoulder while Michelle also watched her expression. You don't regret it. Kai narrowed his eyes. Ayaka looked into his eyes with a determined expression. After a minute, Kai finally closed his eyes and sighed. If that's how you feel, I couldn't stop you. I am happy that you think of me before making such a decision. But have you been informed about the price that you will bear by my teacher, Price? Ayaka tilted her head in confusion. Kai face-palmed as he sighed. It seems I really need to go to her place after the new year. Of course, you are going there with me. For what? Ayaka asked. I will explain it later, since there is no point in knowing it right now. It's not an immediate price, and even I have paid that price. So, don't worry too much. Kai sighed yet again while crossing his arms and leaned back. Ayaka nodded obediently, still feeling a bit guilty. She thought for a moment and said, Actually, I have received a little training from her. Ayaka couldn't help but gulp down before starting to tell her story. It was a scary experience that would traumatize her for the rest of her life. I have found my own fighting style. I believe I can help you with this. She wanted to show her power first before explaining it, so she abruptly stood up and grabbed the table in front of her. Surprisingly, Ayaka managed to lift the table up a little bit without having any difficulty. She didn't raise the table high and quickly released it before sitting down. Kai and Michelle frowned as they took a glimpse of Ayaka's speed. This is my power. A certain accident forced Professor Ria to inject 2 types of blood into my body, wildebeest and leafcutter ant. This statement shocked Kai and Evan at the same time. They were also zodiacs, and they knew such a case shouldn't be possible. Only Kai could slightly understand as he muttered to himself, Did teacher make a breakthrough? Kai shook his head before asking Ayaka to continue. I have gotten wildebeest speed and leafcutter ant. However, I couldn't run nimbly because of the speed. The same as my strength. Kai, could you raise your palm and pointed it at me? Ayaka asked. Although he didn't know what she wanted to do, Kai raised his right palm. Ayaka suddenly threw a punch on his palm before astonishment filled Kai's heart. Kai finally realized what was going on. I see. That is your weakness. Yeah. Ayaka nodded. The others watched both of them with confusion, hoping for an explanation. Noticing their expression, Kai began explaining. Just like a coin with 2 sides, becoming a zodiac also has advantages and disadvantages. My lion blood can grant me a little increase in my eyesight, a great boost in strength and speed, but the more I use this power, the instinct will take over. At that time, I might attack my allies. If I fight in full strength, I could only hold it for an hour. You were talking about her weakness. As expected of Evan, he instantly realized what Ayaka was talking about as a zodiac. This time, Ayaka was the one who answered him, Yes. The advantage of my 2 blood is speed and power. However, if I use wildebeest speed, one of the land fastest animals on Earth, I couldn't make an agile movement. In other words, it's more like a charge rather than fast close combat. Professor Ria asked me to perfect my control of the firewing to help me maneuver, but I'm still in the middle of my practice. Meanwhile, I get the ability of leafcutter ant, of lifting something 20 times of my body weight. At first, I thought it was going to be my jaw, but it would seem my arms were the ones to transform. This ability didn't increase my strength. Instead, it was more like the muscles in my arms reflectively stood the weight. The same as before, she asked me to get something heavy as my weapon so that I can get a powerful strike. I came back 2 days ago and used 1 whole day to design my new spear concept. My family would build it as fast as possible. I am sorry if I trouble all of you. Ayaka finished her explanation with an apology. She didn't mind talking about her ability with these people since she trusted them. I see my teacher taught you a bit about your fighting style. Kai nodded. Anyway, I'm glad that nothing happened to you. We are going to have another mission in a week, so you can get accustomed to your body first and maybe have some practices with us. Ayaka smiled at him, even though she was sweating inside. Recalling how she almost turned into magical beasts made her unable to tell Kai about it. Meanwhile, Michelle came to her, filled with curiosity. Training with Rhea Ross would mean brutal training. In that case, there was one question that needed to be asked. So, how many times have you died? Ayaka's body trembled. It was easy to see she was pretty shaken about it. She looked at Michelle while sweating. She killed me 100 times for preparation, and another 100 times in practice. Oh, only 200 times. You were pretty lucky then. Michelle chuckled as she came to Kai while patting his head. Kai rolled his eyes while shrugging. Looking at Kai's expression, she didn't continue. What do you mean? Ayaka asked. Haha, you will hear it pretty soon. Michelle grinned mysteriously, enjoying both Ayaka's and Kai's expression. All right. We still have time, so you all can do anything you want. Kai shrugged before turning to Evan. Could you search for a mission? If possible, make it 3 missions so we can choose which one suits our current situation. Leave it to me. Evan nodded. Time flew by. Ayaka had gotten a new weapon and asked the other opinions on how to coordinate with them, considering her close combat wasn't weak anymore. In other words, Ayaka could easily become a vanguard or a magician that bombarded the enemy with her magic. Kai also took part in the process, and 6 days passed in an instant. They gathered once again in the room as Evan presented them with 3 choices. Kai quickly chose a mission that suited their current situation. Mission, Bison Extermination. Description: 50C rank bison have been spotted in Prince George, Canada. Their rank is high because of their strength, speed, and moving in a herd. Please proceed with caution. Reward: 250, 0 sound and 2500 points. I choose this mission because Ayaka is still getting accustomed to her power. We can use these 50 bison for an experience of her power and our new combination. Do any of you have an objection? All of them shook their heads while Michelle commented, Still, Prince Rupert again? Sigh. I just hope we don't have any emergency mission again. All of them chuckled as Kai shrugged. Don't raise any flag. We won't have that much bad luck. You are right. I just hope that after this mission, we can have a long rest for your birthday, Christmas, and New Year. Michelle stretched her hands lazily. I agree with you. Luckily, I still get paid as a teacher, so I can get some wine to pass the winter, especially without a boyfriend. Sanai let out a long sigh. Kai and the others didn't say anything. No, they were rather not to. All right, teacher. You are staying here since it's only a normal mission, so don't complain. Kai looked at her before turning to everyone else. I will inform the pilot after this. We are departing right after lunch. Right. We have our own helicopter now, so we don't need to match our schedule with anyone, Michelle exclaimed happily. Kai nodded before leaving the room to hand the pilot request. Chapter 139. Preparation. The next day, Kai made his way toward the school with his sister, albeit with teleportation magic. They had no class today because of the mission, and quickly came to their base. In the room, no one had yet to come, as there were still 3 hours before taking off. The journey was around 2 hours, so everyone took it easy. Meanwhile, Kai still had another thing to do, so he turned to his sister and said, Sister, I will meet the pilot first. You can wait here until the others come. Wait, let me come with you. Tasha, who was sitting comfortably on the couch, abruptly stood up and walked to Kai. You can let me handle this kind of thing, you know? After all, there is already too much burden in your hand. Kai looked at her and wanted to tell her to let him handle it. Unexpectedly, he nodded and said, All right, just go with me first, since this is the first time. Sure. Tasha happily smiled, following him to the back of the school. There were 3 helipads around the area, while only one of them had a helicopter. Kai and Tasha exchanged looks as they walked toward the helicopter, finding a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man also recognized both of them. He came out of the helicopter and stretched his hand. You must be Lion Group's Kai Carter and Tasha Carter. I am Rick, your pilot, until you leave the top 100. Nice to meet you. Kai nodded and shook his hand. According to the papers that Mia gave, they usually had one exclusive pilot until they had no right on the helicopter anymore. If the pilot in question couldn't go, there would be a substitute. I am not a strong man like you guys and can't even enlist in the military. The only thing I could help in this era is to pilot the helicopter and safely deliver you guys. Don't worry. I have 10 years worth of experience under my belt, Rick said while pumping his chest with confidence. Besides, I still have wives in my house, so safety is a must for me. Kai stared at her for a few seconds before nodding. Yes, I am looking forward to our cooperation. All right, now that the introduction has finished, it's time to talk about the business. Rick's expression turned serious as he took out his device. He opened the map and started explaining. I have read through the mission. Our target is around Prince Rupert again, after the bison migrated from Canada and somehow passed the line. Well, it can't be helped, since the border is too vast. Kai nodded in agreement. The border was too vast and ever-changing, so it was hard to keep an eye on every nook and corner. Even if they set up a kind of wall around, it would only be used for a certain period before they needed to set up another one after pushing the magical beast to a deeper area. Anyway, I am going to carry all of you to Prince Rupert. Considering they have no flying beasts or beasts that could shoot a helicopter, I can get pretty close. However, I want to ask you first whether you want to jump off the helicopter or want me to land it first. To answer that question, Kai needed to look at Tasha. First, Tasha crossed her arms and pondered for a few seconds. There is another thing I want to add. If I use the teleportation magic inside the helicopter, to teleport all of you will require a big magic circle, at least bigger than this helicopter. In other words, if I want to teleport you all at once, then I can only do it after we jump off the helicopter to avoid teleporting the helicopter, or parts of the helicopter with us. If I may ask, how long do you need to make the magic circle, young lady? It's to calculate my altitude and other things, Rick asked politely. It won't take too long. Maybe 100 meters above the ground is enough, Tasha thought for a moment and said, if everyone jumps together, then yes. Young lady, although it pains me to say this, the helicopter only has 2 doors in left and right. Even if we cram it together, only 4 people can jump off at the same time, Rick said with a troubled expression. Let me answer that question. Kai suddenly took over the conversation. We have a healer in our team so that he won't fight with us. After you drop us off, please land in a nearby area or just stay in the sky for a while. Rick closed his eyes for a moment before answering Kai's request. The fuel that we use can fly the helicopter 12 hours straight. I myself have no problem flying it that long. As long as we can go back to this place within 12 hours, I have no problem flying it continuously. Yeah, I can assure you the mission is going to finish within an hour or 2. Kai nodded with a smile. I understand. How about the fuel and maintenance thing? Kai asked, since he was required to ask about it according to the guide. You can leave it to me. The money you store in the school for those expenses would come in the form of Magic Beast's core and maintenance. I am usually the one to change the fuel. If we need to fly more than 12 hours, I can even change it midway. As for the maintenance, I will give you a follow-up. Kai looked down for a while, recalling if there were any questions he had yet to ask. He looked at Tasha, who nodded her head and fell into deep thought. After a minute, Kai looked up. I don't have any problem with it. I'm looking forward to our cooperation. Yes, actually, I need to thank you. Rick smiled while scratching his cheek, embarrassed. Kai tilted his head in confusion. My daughter is one of the gunners in Prince George. Your help has saved her life, so thank you. Ah. Kai was surprised for a second before nodding his head, composed. Although he treated it like it was nothing special, it surely made him happy. In any case, my sister or I will be the one to inform you if there is a mission. Sure. Rick smiled gently. After serving as a pilot for a decade, he had seen many kinds of students and their attitude. There were arrogant, humble, not caring types, and so on. Kai was one of the humble students, despite his achievement. After his group saved his daughter in Prince Rupert's battle, he, or specifically his daughter, had been following his news, including the Battle of Cuba military base. He found the name was similar when he learned that the Lion Group was searching for a pilot. Without hesitation, he quickly signed and picked up as their pilot. He couldn't brag to his daughter because it wasn't decided yet until they finished the mission. However, by seeing him here, he knew he had successfully become a personal pilot for them. Noticing that the matter was finished, he quickly took out a board and a marker before handing it to Kai. Can you sign this? I want to give it to my daughter so she can have the strength to fight in the front line. This is a father request and support for his daughter, maybe with a picture. Kai's eyebrows twitched, thinking why the situation turned out like this. He wasn't a celebrity or something. Meanwhile, Tasha chuckled from the side before whispering from afar. General Sanders, Commander Jack, Sarah, and Marcia also have their own fan base in the military. Isn't it good? Kai wanted to hit because of this teasing, but couldn't do it in front of Rick. He only nodded with a smile. Sure. Taking the marker and the board from Rick, he signed his name before Rick asked Tasha to take a photo of him and Kai with the sign so that he could send it to his daughter. After finishing all the matters, he returned to the room to grab all the things he needed, such as his radio. There was even a small camera on their shoulder to let Sanai see the scene. Depending on the situation, she might give some advice or order. She would also observe their condition if the group needed some reinforcement or not, taking responsibility to inform the base or group nearby to help them. Michelle and the others arrived 1 hour before the departure. Tasha quickly informed Michelle and Ayaka that Kai seemed to have a fan in Prince George's base. Tasha and Michelle teased him for the whole time, while Ayaka sat on the corner, thinking it felt weird to tease him. Sanai didn't join them in teasing Kai, but she only made a smirk when Kai looked at her. Eventually, the excitement went down and Kai shrugged the matter off. After finishing their preparation, the lion group finally left the room. Sanai quickly loosened her tie and raised her foot on the couch. Without Kai and the others here, she didn't need to watch her image. It would be funny to see if someone actually forgot something, but as careful as them, they wouldn't forget anything. Kai and the others met Rick and did some brief introductions. After that, they went inside with Kai, and Michelle took the door position. This was just a standard operation procedure to prevent any attack on the helicopter. In fact, Kai already covered it with his ears, so there wasn't a need for that. After checking for one last time, they flew to the sky. Chapter 1000, Battle Plan. I have spotted them. Kai opened his eyes. They are 5 kilometers on our 10, really. Rick was startled as he who was in the front couldn't even see anything other than trees. There was indeed a large dirt road spanning for a few kilometers ahead. Kai's direction was pointing at this road, so he quickly shifted their direction. At first, it was hard to believe that Kai could sense them, but the moment he saw them after flying for 5 minutes stunned him. Rick glanced at Kai before observing the 50 bison in their front. Although there were 2 kilometers left, he could see it clearly from above. I can get closer up to 1 kilometer. After that, I can only drop you guys and fly above you, Rick informed them while observing the bison's movements. They were pretty calm at the moment while crossing the dirt road toward their direction. Kai looked to the side and commented, "The dirt road is huge, but there are trees that we can use as a diversion. I want this mission to be focused on Ayaka, so that I can grasp the extent of her power. Do you have any objection?" Although this question targeted Ayaka, he also wanted to see others' reactions since he always led the group. Fortunately, his worry was unnecessary. I am staying in the helicopter and healing the injured, so I don't have any objection. Ethan was the first one to answer. No matter your decision, I am taking the support role with my bow. In fact, I can stay in this helicopter and attack them from above, Tasha said nonchalantly. Except for the order of retreat while you are holding the rear, which is basically suicide, I have no qualms, Michelle answered with a smile. Ayaka looked down for a few seconds before taking a deep breath. I will do my best. There was a trace of confidence in her eyes, but not overconfidence. As long as she was careful, this should be an easy mission. All right, here is my plan. Kai paused for a few seconds to get their attention. Ayaka and I will come from the front, while Michelle and Tasha will strike from behind on my signal. Are you sure about that? Michelle seemed to have a little objection, while Tasha explained her qualms. Although they are only C-rank magical beasts, there are 50 of them. At this time, Ayaka broke her silence, stunning them. I see you want to separate them. Astonishment appeared on Kai's face before he nodded with a serious expression. After getting trained by Rhea Ross, she managed to learn a few things from her as to prevent her from being dead weight. With the same teacher, Ayaka could understand how Kai thought at this moment. She saw Kai's nod and began her explanation. I will use my magic bomb to separate them into 2 groups. Maybe 1040 or 1535. Michelle and Tasha will eliminate 10 to 15 bison while we take on the rest. In any case, We can use Ayaka's Scarlet Explosion and Firebirds to chip away their number, so don't worry about it, Kai added, assuring the unrest in Michelle's and Tasha's hearts. If you say it that way, then I agree with the plan. Michelle nodded. Sorry, Evan. Although we have you, I want to complete this mission without an injury. Kai looked at Evan, afraid of him feeling being left out. Hey Kai, are you an M? Do you really want to get injured? Evan looked at him with a weird expression. Of course not. Kai wanted to say that he worked hard in the previous mission, so if he didn't have any job in this mission, he would feel he wasn't needed in this group. Don't worry, I am not a petty person. I have the power to heal, but I personally don't like to heal other people. It's better to complete the mission without an injury. Evan made a little smile to strengthen his point. All right, time to go. Kai nodded before glancing at Rick, to which he replied with, You can jump off in 3 seconds. Rick said 3 seconds was to stabilize the helicopter. Kai and Michelle opened the door. Ayaka walked toward Kai while Tasha was standing by beside Michelle Go. The instant Kai gave the signal, both of them jumped off the helicopter, falling to the ground at high speed. At this time, a pink magic circle appeared right beneath their feet as Tasha said, Teleportation. All of them appeared right on the dirt road, looking at the bison far away. Seeing how close the helicopter was, the bison noticed it. Luckily, it would seem they had not noticed Kai's and the others' presence. Kai instructed. Ayaka, place the magic bomb in this place. Tasha and Michelle can use the woods to mask your presence and stay there until the magic bomb explodes. Sure. Tasha nodded while patting Michelle's shoulder as she created another magic circle. Teleportation. Kai watched them disappear before turning back to Ayaka. Are you all right? Can you handle it this time? I will try. Ayaka nodded with more confidence than usual. Still, I'm wondering what kind of spear you request from your family. Do you want to try it? Ayaka took off the white bracelet on her right wrist before handing it to him. Kai stared dumbfoundedly for a few seconds before taking the bracelet. Summon, cage. The moment the spear came out of the shell, he almost dropped it down. Veins began appearing on his hand, never expecting this kind of weight. He looked at Ayaka. What is the weight of this spear? I need almost all of my power just to swing this spear, I guess. It's 670 kilograms. I wanted it more, but the technology is not there yet. Ayaka looked at the white spear in Kai's hand. It was a simple spear without any decoration. But if one took a blow from this spear, it would be like a blow from a warhammer. The spear would casually crush their bones. Kai took a deep breath before he raised the spear and played it around his hand. As expected, I can't use something like this since my movement will be restricted. My limit is around 250 kilograms. He remembered the two-handed swords that Michelle gave him in the big war. Though he also sacrificed some of his speed because of the weight. In fact, he wanted a vibrating sword before the sound levitation, since it would increase the sharpness. Then, he could literally cut almost anything. Of course, he needed to experiment it first. Like, if he struck something with his sword, would it cleanly cut the object, or would a portion of his vibration be transferred to that object? When he thought about it, the concept itself was a little similar, like a chainsaw trying to cut metal. It wouldn't go through at one strike, but would surely leave damage on the metal. At first, he thought it would cut anything cleanly, because he saw many videos about that. The problem was all the videos cut in slow motion, different from him who needed to fight at high speed. In the end, he shook the thought off and focused back on the spear. He handed back the spear to Ayaka and said, It's really hard to use, ahaha. For me, this spear feels nice. This is like a heavier warhammer in spear clothing. Without this spear, I would be the same as a normal girl. It's like I can lift them but not throw them. Ayaka smiled. All right, Tasha and Michelle already took their position. Let's get serious, shall we? Kai paused for a few seconds before saying, Use your firebirds and target them. I don't mind if you only kill 1 or 2 bison, but I want you to certainly kill them. In other words, concentrate your attack on 1 or 2. After getting their attention, send another wave of firebirds to set up a distance from one of them as we retreat a few meters to get a safe distance with your magic bomb. Understood. Ayaka nodded before pointing her hand on the bison. A red magic circle on the tip of her hand as a few birds made of fire came to life. Firebirds. 10 birds flew out of the magic circle, making their way toward the bison. Noticing presences coming to them, The bisons turned around, albeit Ayaka's firebirds already arrived in front of them. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions resounded across the region as the 10 firebirds split into 3 groups and struck 3 bison. Surprisingly, they hit at the same spot, creating a hole in the bison's bodies. Roar, roar, roar. The bison didn't take this lightly as it roared as loud as possible before noticing Kai and Ayaka around 1 kilometer away from them. Roar. Another roar came from the front bison, telling his friends to charge at them. The bison started moving their feet before making their way toward Ayaka and Kai. Ayaka sent another wave of firebirds without hesitation. However, the firebirds that were 1 meter above the ground suddenly dove and struck the ground right in front of the bison. These explosions confused those bison for a few seconds, especially those in the back, because they couldn't see Kai's and Ayaka's figures when the dust kicked up. This created a gap from each bison and gained Kai's approval. This is good. We will retreat 30 meters back. Ayaka nodded and followed him as she sent the last firebird. Because it was hard to time it, the magic bomb was set for an hour, which was basically impossible for the fight to last that long. The purpose of this was so Ayaka's firebird could explode right on the magic bomb, breaking the barrier that held the magic bomb. Around 2/3 had passed the magic bomb, while Ayaka's firebird had arrived. It was at this time the firebird finally exploded, causing a massive explosion. Boom.